And if you come up to speak or want to speak, come to the podium so you can speak into that microphone and we can all hear you at the time. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Move to approve this presented.
Second. Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and on to item number 3, proposed zoning districts, UDO rewrite project. Don King.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for, guess I should say, thanks for getting me on the agenda here. This was a presentation that our consultant Inspire Placemaking gave to the planning board at their March meeting. And I just wanted to kind of go over it with you all to kind of show this is kind of where we're heading with proposed zoning districts. It's not this is what it's going to be, but just to kind of get a feeling from you all on that. For just kind of an update, for this past 7 months, we've been reviewing sections of the proposed right now unified development ordinance. We haven't quite settled on another. Thank you. We haven't settled on another acronym for it yet. So past 7 months, we've been piecemeal looking at the document. So it's kind of very difficult to kind of see how it's all going to fit together. Kind of the next step that we're expecting is we're on our last 3 articles. And the next step is the consultant's going to put that together as one draft, one complete document, and then that will come back to us to kind of start digging into. So, we will need to do that. So I know we've got a long, might have a long meeting this evening, so I'll get moving. So what's in the presentation tonight is this is kind of the agenda for it. We're going to just give a brief look at the current zoning comparison, what we're proposing for residential districts, possible infill example, commercial districts, an idea called the corner store, which is really nothing new, but everything old comes back around. Discussion, I don't know how much you'll have right now, but you have my information. You think about something in the middle of the night, like I sometimes do, you can feel free to email me. So for the current zoning comparison, on the left side of the screen, you have our current residential zoning districts. There's 7 of those. We're proposing to pull those down to 4. A suburban neighborhood residential or traditional neighborhood residential, compact neighborhood residential, and an urban neighborhood residential. Manufactured home parks, we're going to try to figure out how best to deal with those, because right now they're a separate zoning district. I've never understood why that needed to be, because they're more like a development use. So there are about 7 of those. Current commercial districts are on the left. We're proposing a new urban activity center, which will be a new district. That's probably going to be more of like your, well, let me back up on it. We'll have a urban activity center, a central or core commercial, a high intensity commercial, and an industrial district. So the colors correspond with the old districts that kind of get pulled into those. And we might need to massage this a little bit as well, especially some of the names we're calling. So for the new residential zoning districts, the overview, we're going from the left-hand side of the screen, but going from more of a suburban neighborhood down to more urban neighborhoods. The suburban neighborhood residential is mostly single family. That's probably going to be areas where we don't have sewer. We've got lots of areas that are have water, but not sewer. The traditional neighborhood would be mostly single family and duplex development. That would probably be the greater part of what's currently developed in town. The compact neighborhood district is probably gonna be more of like a greenfields development where it's a vacant piece of land, and a little more planned out. And then the urban neighborhood is mostly townhomes and apartments, and up to, possibly up to 5 stories. So, as you
Okay,
see,
couple questions.
sure,
Cause I'm looking at that going. That. When I'm looking, especially traditional neighborhood, to me, that's saying, that's the raise and rebuild. I mean, that's what it looks like is we want the tear downs. And we're not, I see mostly single family duplex, and one of the things we had talked about in the past was integrating duplex, triplex, quads in neighborhoods. So that it was.
I think that might be one of the next.
I know it says compact, but traditional, what I'm looking like there is. I'm reading that, and tell me if I misunderstand, but I'm reading that as that is signaling to developers and individuals. Tear down, tear down, tear down, tear down outside of the historic district, because there's no protections.
I will say that tear downs, that's a real possibility.
I would say that's a problem.
But that's a possibility in R10, R15, and R20 as we are right now.
I mean, we're already seeing some tear downs. People applying in the historic district to tear down an older house and subdivide it into. So we're already kind of seeing that already, but
Cause that's one of the.
I have to explore ways of how can we
Yeah,
prevent that or do as much as we can to prevent tear downs, but the planning board, one of the planning board members did raise that as well. And there are some techniques, but I don't know how complicated.
I know that
It
we were
is.
successful in terms of some other requirements other than zoning. But that's a conversation certainly across the country, but it destroys community in terms of sense of place. And it has to, I mean.
Yeah, yes.
Before we go further,
Okay.
I just want to ask, well, no, I want to ask how you want to receive this feedback, because this is probably just a presentation. Not
It is a presentation, but
But there, yeah, if you could. Yeah, would you like us to also submit?
yeah, you
questions later?
can call me, you can email me, however you feel best to do it. Like I said, it's 3 AM and you're on your computer and something came to you,
If it's at 3 AM, something's really wrong.
Yeah.
I've had seen emails come in from odd hours, so.
But no, I need to squash your conversation, but before we got any further.
No, understood. It's like if it needs to be later, but
Yeah,
I will just say that scares the living hell out of me.
Yeah. I understand. And there are some ways, like I said, to deal with it, but we'll have to look into it.
I know other jurisdictions, like I said, across they don't use zoning. They use other requirements in terms of development and use the setbacks, the water soup. I mean, there's
Okay,
bunches of other stuff.
I've got a. Well, this is.
They're not advanced.
Yeah, it's not. I mean,
Let's click on it. It's like here.
Thanks. So this is like a representative land uses that we might expect to see in a suburban neighborhood residential. It's like, again, mostly single family detached, but it does allow for duplexes, triplexes and quadplexes, but without sewer, you're less likely to see that type of development. So it's gonna be, 20,000 square foot lots, probably 30,000 for duplexes. The traditional neighborhood residential is mostly gonna be single family detached and duplexes, but again, there'll be options for triplexes, quadplexes, yes.
So when I was looking at this before the meeting, the bold is just saying what would be the
Probably.
majority, but
Yeah,
it still allows the quad and tri.
That's my understanding. The compact neighborhood residential, again, this is where we think we might see this more in greenfield development. Where you've got just a blank slate. We're expecting to see more triplexes, quadplexes and townhomes. But you could also see some single family duplexes and apartments. So this was a table that the consultant put together to show how, in a compact neighborhood residential, some of the numbers wind up being. So you have for single family detached, you have a maximum of 8 dwelling units, per acre. But if you have a site that you're developing, you can assume that some of that is going to be in street rights of way. So when you actually apply it, you really get more like 7 dwelling units an acre. For quadruplexes, you still get your 10 units per acre. And a lot's going to, so you see a maximum residential density. We have requirement, again, street rights of way will come out if it's a subdivision where they're putting in streets. If we're still going to have open space standards, those are going to come into play. And then, of course, stormwater measures, those are going to start shrinking back on that. But that's the maximum density that you could get.
Minimum, the minimum lot size and site width. Is that kind of standard when you're putting a 3-unit or like the 3-unit attached triplex to require that to be 90 and sort of trying to fit something in a smaller footprint? I just am wondering, could a builder? I feel like I've seen tighter triplexes.
Yeah,
And not needing so much extra space to put that in there. I'm thinking of a triplex just in town, it's an old house that was converted, actually, there's 2 of them that I can think of right now. Now I think one of them's on a bigger square foot site, but they're right in town and they're triplexes and they're old houses, so anyhow, it's just one of my concerns is that we're gonna like. You'd like to see maybe more units on a piece of property, but I'm saying you have to have 90 feet that night.
Yeah.
There's split for doing that.
Well,
Or
again,
even the other.
yeah, this is kind of a starter, conversation starter, so that's good feedback.
I would also say kind of similar feedback on the side setbacks.
Yeah.
With the. Just because it's like, well, if the maximum density is 8, let's just say across those first 3. But your minimum lot size also goes up, but I feel like the side setback, if we're trying to achieve more density, maybe not have them graduate up so much in between them. So, maybe 5 is good for single family detached. But, if you can already do 8 units of 2-unit attached duplex and 3-unit attached duplex. And the difference is only, 3,000 minimum lot size. Do we end up hindering that density by going up to 15 on side setback?
But it sounds like it's assuming horizontal as opposed to vertical, and you can have vertical triplex, it
Sure.
doesn't have to be horizontal. Oh, I'm so sorry. It seems like that looks like it assumes horizontal duplex, triplets, plots as opposed to vertical. Because if it's vertical, you wouldn't need to have as much, so, and.
It's almost like we need to have a stacked duplex or triplex versus a horizontal.
Exactly.
Yeah, and have. And one thing I haven't really explained that. Under our current zoning and most zoning, you're regulating density by lot sizes, at least here in town. So you've got R15, you have to have a 15,000 square foot lot per each dwelling unit. So if you wanted to build a duplex, you gotta have 30,000 square foot lot. We've had builders ask, hey, I've got this lot up here, can I build a duplex? No, because you've only got a 10,000 square foot lot and you need 20 if you're zoned R10. So we're kind of going more to, instead of flat, regulating by just lot size, doing more of the regulation by the type of dwelling unit. So if you're gonna build a house, these are your setbacks and your minimum lot size. If you're gonna do a triplex, these are our setbacks.
So can we have options so it's vertical
Oh,
versus
yeah.
horizontal?
Yeah.
Is that, I would like to, that some of the things as we aim for density, we have to include the air as buildable. As opposed to just land.
But no, I've seen examples of that.
Now, I'm gonna ask a quick question.
Sure.
So on your multifamily, like your duplex, triplex options, is this assuming shared driveways or single driveways?
The idea is to have, like rear parking.
Okay, so, because that was gonna be my answer to your question, is why 90 feet? Well, you get a 15-foot driveway apron, you gotta have a water tap, sewer tap, and a street tree. That 30 feet gets eaten up pretty quick, but if you're gonna do a rear loading option, then, you know, that obviously helps with that.
Tom, I was wondering about like the single family, if somebody builds to the expense, and the five. I guess I'm not seeing why the height is the same, but if you put 2 units on it, all of a sudden we are coming in 10 more, or 5 more feet on each side, and then 5 more feet again. So, I'm just thinking like a single family home could be at the expense of it, but then now we're saying, oh, but if you're gonna put 2 units on there, well, you gotta, your expense just came in some, and I'm not exactly sure if that sounds reasonable to me. Especially since the height is the same. I think, wasn't before like setback changed as the height goes up? Is that some way that was done before?
We have that for accessory structures.
Okay.
I'm not,
We also did that for the Altera project, that we had them set back, that was specific to that project though, but that was one of the things that. One of the trade-offs that we talked about, because we were increasing that building height and it was gonna be so much taller than we allow in town. How could you mitigate the feel of that so that the massing of the building wasn't so intense from the street? So the idea was to set it back a little further, but then go taller. But again, that was also a much taller building because we were talking about 330 multifamily units, which would be different than say a triplex or a duplex or something like that.
That would fall in other circumstances where, you know, we think about overall mass and scale of a lot, so one big structure or 2 slightly smaller structures might have a somewhat sense of portion. And I don't know if that's a factor in what you might go into.
and I will add, the consultants are watching the meeting, so they're hearing, at least one of them is hearing what you're saying. Like, so,
I would also, maybe this is me thinking something crazy, but I also wonder about the quadplex also having a maximum building height of 35,
Yeah.
because it seems like that could potentially shunt, not that you would have 4 units stacked on top of each other, but perhaps only envision certain configurations for a quadplex that would, you know, you would have horizontal, maybe have cube thing. I don't know. I'm trying to imagine, but I think it would possibly limit the creativity of the quadplexes. If I can understand the townhomes, that's probably a maximum of 3 units high. Apartments probably very similar, but the quadplex, I don't know. I think the numbers working together, I think may work against creativity on the 4 unit attached.
Well, even the 3 unit, because you can have, you know, stair step depending on topography. Some of that, and I wonder if we're, you know. Even in height wise, if we think in terms of, you know, these buildings go in for decades, 100+ years. Are we, you know, not saying you put in a 6-story thing in the middle of a neighborhood, but our height's too low. In terms of, there's some things you can do that don't dwarf, but I mean, already what I'm seeing now, where you will have, you know, 1,750 square foot house next to a 6,000 substantially larger. So in terms of scale, it's dramatic. Whether it's, you know, a 20 foot to a 40 foot is not nearly as dramatic. To give us some options in terms of density and creativity.
I've ridden through some places in Durham that I think would meet the compact neighborhood residential when it does have the 4 units attached or the complexes or whatnot. They're very creative. I just want to make sure, you know, in some of the ways I've seen them be creative is, you know, they might be townhome setup, but they have a first level, a second level, a third level, and then they have a rooftop.
Yep.
To compensate for having less of a yard. And so how does that rooftop factor in terms of height?
Exactly. And that's a great thing because we haven't, in town, we really haven't utilized rooftops at all. And that's one of the things that in terms of, it's certainly overseas more so than the US where not only the rooftops are being used for gardens and outdoor and living spaces, but also the building materials, the sides where they're living and growing, where you're in there. And I would love to see us over time have that option. And it helps bring down in terms of heat
Kathleen.
centering. Oh, shoot, I'm so sorry.
Well, if you can pull it closer to you, so you can still.
You know, I've got it nuts back. But especially it combats, you know, in terms of climate change and heat centering, when the more we have green building, not only green buildings, but literally
Green rooms.
green roofs and materials that allow for vertical gardening and things like that.
Yes. The the urban neighborhood residential, I think I may have already went over this, but it's mostly townhomes and apartments, do have your, some limited commercial, retail, office and services. So it's gonna be a little more, an intense urban area. So this was an infill example I had, toyed with last month or so, a couple of blocks down on West Orange Street. And I gave it to Jay and his staff, and this block is about 5 acres. It's currently zoned R20. It's in the historic district. Requires a 20,000 square foot minimum lot size, a 100 foot minimum lot width. So you've got a maximum density of 2 units per acre. But as you can see in this particular block, most of the existing lots are non-conforming. They were platted before zoning. This one here is belongs to a church. It's an old town lot, so it's the 1 acre. And ironically, I got a call that they would like to subdivide that property. So this was just to kind of show what we currently have in parts of town, where you already have some existing density, and how that you could do what they termed a gentle infill with these 2 lots. This is the church lot with a house on it, and this lot here is a house that's going to be moved. That, and under the traditional neighborhood residential, you can get a quadplex. If this lot were split off, and you could get an extra lot at this corner lot here.
So again, I'm seeing these horizontal as opposed to going back to the old is new again, where you have a square, it looks like a house, but it's a single door and it's quad. And it's far more residential design. Is there any Is there a way to encourage that kind of development versus block, blocky, block,
Yeah.
block, block?
I imagine these drawn this way probably just, it's more simple.
Okay,
But yes, I think there are ways we can incorporate it. Well, I know there are ways that we can incorporate that would make that maybe something more desirable. Of course, that's gonna depend on the builders and what they're willing, when you go vertical, it costs may go up. So,
right, but I mean, typically, what I'm talking about is what you'll see is it looks from the outside, it looks like
it's a
a house.
house. Yeah.
You have a single door.
Yep.
I mean, there's a back door. whatever,
Yes.
But, and they have port or lanais or whatever, but you go in and door up.
Right.
Stair that it. And they end up being very desirable.
So for the commercial districts, what, Matt, did you, were you?
Bless you.
Sorry. So these are, they did an analysis of how many, commercially zoned properties we have in each, district. Over here on the left. So we're proposing to go to 4 commercial districts with this new urban activity center district.
What happens with the adaptive reuse? Cause that's the only one that doesn't seem to
Fit any,
fit with your color coding.
that's gonna be a tough one. We've got 2 pieces, they say we've got 8 parcels. I think that's because one of the buildings might be is condoized, but it's the 2 mills or 2 mill buildings. It's the River Mill Business or the Business Center at Allison and Dymocks Mill Road, and then there's one on the north side of the Street near the next to the apartments that's also zoned adaptive reuse. If we are going to, what we've heard from the planning board and the town board is we want to have more allowed uses. It may just be a function of opening up the districts to more uses, and so you don't need an adaptive reuse, but it's a very specific district. It has to be an existing building of a certain size. It's really finely tuned to those mill buildings.
Okay.
But it's just finding a way to merge them in. And so the uses that are there can continue without having to have a specific name for it. So the commercial dimensional standards, we've got the central or core district, that's the traditional downtown feel that we have in our historic district with a balance of mixed uses. High intensity commercial, we might need to work on that name, but that's more of your large scale commercial and light industrial uses on our major roads. And then industrial is more of the high impact manufacturing and research and development uses, which I don't know how many of those we have left. And the urban activity center is more of a transit oriented development type of district. So this is something that would probably be a floating zone. It's in the district. It'll get applied when somebody wants to come in and zone to that. We could definitely see the train station property maybe using that district in the future, but it allows higher intensity residential and non-residential. The buildings are going to be taller. But it allows upper story residential and apartments. And again, this is.
Now, industrial, because I don't see 6-story industrial. 2-story or 2.5, 3-story if they're doing some very tall manufacturing, but we don't have just for the water usage, electric use.
Yeah.
We don't see that. So why would we have 6 stories for industrial? That makes no sense to me.
Believe it might be because it does allow residential as
That
upper story.
problem.
But yeah, why did that's a good point. That didn't jump out at me. It's
Is for
No, Tom got an inquiry from NASA. We're gonna start building rockets.
Yeah.
I mean, from where, every time I go back, my sister said we have the, engine testing where things fall off the, walls that probably won't go over very well. But anyhow, for, the high impact industrial, you don't want residents. Ends up. That's where you end up over time, really bad.
Well, we're also not getting a lot of inquiries for high impact types of the old school manufacturing. That you used to see, it's a lot.
I wish we had some advanced manufacturing,
Yeah.
they're very good jobs, but they will not be placed next to residential.
Tom,
Yes,
quick question on the height on, for the urban activity center and seven stores, would that require only fire trucks?
that I do not know.
I want to note that.
I have to reach out to Jeff Cade to.
Is the central or core commercial, is it or core because you're playing around with language or,
That's it,
okay,
because you call it central commercial, but it's not in the center where you expect it. I mean, that kind of gets problematic if you wanted to apply that type of district somewhere else. It's really not, I guess you could, but it's a name thing. Kind of like high intensity commercial. Does it have to be high intensity? Can it just be commercial working? So the corner store concept that was brought out.
Hallelujah, but do we have any spaces left? Because all of our spaces that were designed for that,
or
we haven't,
residences?
Or
we
taken
didn't hold down to them, which was plugged on.
as you know, we have a few. You have the Village Diner, you have the convenience store at West Hill Avenue and West King Street. There's a few scattered around, but I guess this is something, Shannon says we have people calling, asking about doing
Yeah.
things like this all the time, but yes, where is the available property gonna be for it? But the idea is to have it available. You cap the square footage, gross floor area of the building, its hours of operation. It's calling for a 6 foot tall privacy fence abutting residential. The concept gets into line what you're going to allow, which this is what is just proposed now and what's prohibited. We had planning board, at least one member did mention some things as well, why would we prohibit that necessarily? So again, this is just a draft. I was thinking, definitely you would want something where people could walk to and it's. But I from my reading of it, it's. I think we need more people and more major roads on which to, that,
But why
For
do we
track.
have, it's okay for a restaurant, but it's not okay for food preparation? That makes no sense to me.
food preparation businesses, yeah, those are like caterers and stuff like that, so why wouldn't you allow that?
Exactly.
I don't know. We can find out, but that's,
That would, you would have, I mean, that is a lot of, I mean, there's home businesses like that we want to encourage.
I'm guessing, Kathleen, that the idea might be to create some opportunities for people to walk from the neighborhoods to enjoy something as opposed to it being used to produce food that's just shipped somewhere else. It
they're
doesn't
gonna have to
bring
drive.
the community to the.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's sort of like your hair goods, if it's a good catering. We're gonna have.
One of my favorite things is seeing in, especially in West Hillsborough, where there were businesses that are now homes, like gas stations and
Right,
corner stores and things like that. They're still there.
Right.
They've just been repurposed.
That's the thing, but we don't, the land that we had designated for this stuff, we did not. We let it go. we didn't hold on to it, which is frustrating. Because I think it's another piece that really holds community and sense of place, especially your neighborhood, salon barber. And
They did it all over the country.
all,
It's just,
and it still is, in
Yeah.
small town USA, it's in your little corner grocery store. All over, and, it's an important centering spot for me.
right. So that was pretty much the end of the presentation. But you have any other questions?
So I'd like to say, in general, I you know, appreciate the concept of collapsing many into a few and the kind of re-engineering the uses and the challenge that is to sort that out,
Yes.
create that crosswalk between the old. So, in general, I think it's a good idea to do that, and there's a lot of good categories. Now that I've heard this explained, not just read it in the agenda packet, my brain is turning. So,
Well,
how would you, so as we said, you'd like to receive emails, or?
Sure, if you have any, however you wanna get into me. You know, if you wanted to stop by, pick up the phone, call, I guess I can give you my contact information is on the website.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, Jay and his folks, at least one of them has been listening, so the consultant's hearing this too. So they'll give a lot of good feedback. Exciting next step is that they're working on putting on a draft zoning map together, and we're gonna have to go through that and try to figure that out, review it, and see where there might be trouble spots. And so in the next, I think, several weeks, they're gonna be getting us a draft of that to kind of look at. So
Thanks, Tom. Rob, you have any questions, observations?
I do. I'll echo what you said. I think it makes a lot of sense to condense our zoning districts and have not so many basically options that they have, but I think you're.
for a town our size, it's a little unwieldy and people don't understand why. You know, my neighbor next door zoned this, I'm zoned that, why is that? And sometimes I don't know. Sometimes, well, your neighbor asked to be rezoned and whoever owned the property at that time didn't sign on.
Matt, do you have any questions?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I'm glad that there's gonna be fewer zoning districts. Because even if we were a bigger town, I still think that's a lot of zoning districts. Collapsing them down, I think it's a good step in the right direction. So pretty jazzed about that, but no questions.
I have one question, that is, you should probably give us a deadline to provide our feedback to you, that would help us with our thoughts.
Yes. Maybe within the next 2 weeks would be good.
And I have one other observation, that is, I am always, reminding myself as we think about these things. Going back to a phrase that, Rob, Mr. English used, that is Hillsborough scale. How, these are, you know, there's a lot of things going on, and I just want to say it again, to remind us all that how do we implement that on a Hillsborough scale and make it meaningful to us now, and for, you know, I don't know what your time horizon is. Is this document supposed to be good for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years?
Well,
Obviously, I'm here, but
most of the
how do
time,
we think about it?
zoning regulations historically have been meant to keep the status quo. It's to stabilize neighborhoods and protect property values and things like that. So they change. There's not, unlike a land use or a comprehensive plan where you're going back. Traditionally, they haven't done that, but there are communities now that are going back every 5 years or so and doing an audit. You know, how are we doing? How's the ordinance working? So, technically, we probably could get it on every 5 years. You know, doing a check on it. Where is it failing? Where is it where's it working? But, you know, that's gonna get, I'm hoping that once it gets adopted, that it's not immediately gonna be amended. Uh, I'm hoping, but
Leave it 3 months
It's
before the
like,
first
that,
amendment.
it'll never,
Yeah.
that's never happened.
Yeah.
well, well, we're gonna find.
I don't know, Tom, you could just tell them like, these are the rules. We're not gonna bend them.
Right. Well, you know, normally usually what happens is, you know, you get it and everything, you know, you start, the first time you try to apply it, you find a problem, so. No guarantees, but, you gotta start somewhere. But we're working on 1980s, 70s, 80s, and 90s zoning requirements, so. I'll leave it at that.
And just one last question, that is, in the next draft or where appropriate, can you, remind us how the process is, being faithful to the comprehensive sustainability plan, what it laid out as the guiding principles?
That's supposed to be coming like you know, this is where we're trying to address
Okay,
these
so there'll
items.
be like a
plan.
crosswalk between those.
That's what's expected.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Can we make sure that we don't have heavy equipment, however, stored in this?
Like,
Backhoes.
backhoes and things like that.
Erosion control trucks. 18-wheelers.
There are ways to address that.
Megan, do you have any questions?
No further questions than the ones that I asked, earlier, and I get in touch with you if I have any more.
Sure. You're welcome.
Kathleen?
I think I've said everything for right now, and I've already made a note to make time with Tom.
Yeah, we get email, meetings are gonna be
Oh,
set.
yeah.
Okay, but before you leave, any comments from staff on kind of the process and where we are? Touches so much of what the town does.
Well, we've been sending the drafts we have a group of Bryant's on it, Terry Hackett with Stormwater, so this hasn't just been a planning input. We're getting input from all the groups that we seem to have to deal with the ordinance in some way, shape, or form, even if it's tangentially. We've been trying to get feedback from them into it, so.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, before I entertain, a motion for the consent agenda, I just want to remind everybody that, the town issues, continuous proclamations. And, May is, the Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. That proclamation can be found on the website. We have a motion to adopt the consent.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Megan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And we are on to our first in-depth discussion topic, item 5A, annexation interest letter for 2101 and 2109 NC 86 South.
Just give Sarah a second to get it set up for us. Ready, taking this. There we go. Sure. Good evening, Mayor Bell, Commissioners. Tonight we have an annexation interest letter for 2101 and 2109 NC 86 South. There are maps in your packet. These properties are on NC 86 South, right at Old NC 10, right next to the Home Depot. We have an interested party, Tricor Investments, represented by Ben Harris. He's on the call. They're based in Greenville, South Carolina. They weren't able to make it tonight, but if you have questions for them, they are on Zoom. So together, these are 2 parcels and they total approximately 2.5 acres in area. And right now they're zoned rural residential in Orange County. So the applicant is interested in annexing to the town and rezoning to high intensity commercial to develop the properties for retail purposes. And just to reiterate, this is an annexation interest letter and not a formal petition. So the town code of ordinances asks that applicants submit an interest letter instead of starting off with a formal petition. That way, if the town board has no interest in annexing or just no ability to annex, the town and the applicant don't waste a lot of time in a formal petition. So the goal for this evening is just to discuss the potential for annexation and development with staff and with the applicant, and then indicate if you don't have to approve it, of course, you're not approving it, but if you're looking favorably upon it, and then the applicant can move forward with a formal application for annexation and rezoning. And the only information I have about that is the proposed annexation and the proposed rezoning would be consistent with the Unified Development Ordinance and the future land use plan. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to take them. And then we can introduce Mr. Harris and he'll be able to unmute himself and give you any feedback he has.
Good, thank you. Any questions before we hear?
I have that.
Yes.
I was curious about the property, 2115. That's
The Lunsford property, just south of it. Yes, my understanding, I think the applicant is interested in purchasing the property and the property owner is not interested in selling.
Okay, so if,
It's a residential property right there.
yeah, it looked like the driveway went right through the 2109.
Right, and so when it comes to development, and since it's on NC 86 South, they're gonna be dealing with NC DOT to put in a driveway, and all of that's probably gonna need to be reconfigured.
Tricor, so I'm used to Tricor, the developing bunch of buildings in RTP, is that the same Tricor?
I don't believe so, but Mr. Harris can confirm. These are the folks who are based in South Carolina. I think it's a different Tricor, but.
It is.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah,
Is,
it is a different group. Yes, ma'am.
all righty. Appreciate it, thank you.
Absolutely.
The floor is yours.
Yeah. So I'm happy to answer any questions. You know, our intentions are to do, we've been doing retail a long time and we've got some strong retail tenants that are interested in your market. A couple of QSRs, some fast casual restaurants, and just general retail. So we would, you know, if you all are open to it, and it looked like the future comprehensive land use plan kind of suggested this was in line with what y'all wanted, we're very interested in pursuing a project here.
What is QSR?
Quick service restaurant.
Thank you,
So, mhm.
got it.
Yeah, thank you. So I think we'll go around the table here to see if anybody has questions. Kathleen, do you have any questions?
Well, certainly I definitely want to see extension of a commercial core. You know, usable services that our community are right now is leaving our area to go spend their dollars. I would love to know, have you done the research on our community spending habits? Because at one point when I chaired the Economic Development Commission, at that time, there was data that existed that Orange County was the top 5 of spending fast food, and that they left our county for. So I know that data like that people have in site selection. Have y'all done the research to see what retail our county is leaving Hillsborough to go spend their dollars on?
Well, I can tell you this, ma'am, and I think this is going to probably make you feel really good. We're a preferred developer for one of these tenants, and they're a fast casual tenant, and they only do markets that have, you know, a certain density, a certain income, a certain daytime population. And we do deals for them all over multiple states. So, you know, Hillsborough has, Hillsborough has passed the test for them demographically, and they've given us a green light to go do the market. And this is the site that we've landed on. So while I'm not comfortable divulging who they are.
Understood.
I feel like you'll really like them. They're a fast casual restaurant. That's who's kind of leading the charge for us.
Okay, I mean, I know that at one point in terms of, the 2 mile density and 5 mile densities for a lot of the businesses our residents won't, Hillsborough, at least as of 10 years ago, Hillsborough did not have. I would love to know where, you know, in general, where we're scoring now, because there's been so many changes in those density, radius calculations. But in general, I want to see more commercial, that supports our community, both business to business as well as business to consumer.
Absolutely. Understood.
Megan, any questions?
Well, my first question's already been answered, and I do like that it would fit what we have on the future zoning map. In developing that into a commercial space instead of just empty lot right now, so. That's all I've got, though, no specific questions.
Thank you. So yeah, I echo those observations. It sounds like it's compatible with what we are looking for, and I have no questions. Matt?
None.
Ralph?
No, I don't have any questions either. It makes sense to me. I don't see anything other than commercial industrial going into that space, so I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. So the consensus of the board is that we would like to see this go forward.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, on to item number B, nonprofit partnership funding requests. And this year we're doing something a little bit different, and that is we're having a public hearing. And the town board will, you know, receive all the input, and then we'll have, you know, discussions and stuff, but we're not making any decisions on the kind of levels and amounts. John, welcome.
Yeah, good evening. So for the nonprofit discussion, we have, sorry, for the nonprofit discussion, we have representatives here from each organization. Everything's presented in the packet alphabetically, so I suppose that makes the most sense to just go in that order. I do remember at a previous meeting, we agreed on 5 minutes for everything. And so we'll just go ahead and let them speak, and then after that, we'll open it up for discussion and questions.
Okay, thank you. So you're proposing to hear them in the order that they are in the packet? Yep, just break that up.
Yeah, that's, I mean, it's up to y'all, but I think.
So I'm looking at the package just to make sure I'm calling them up in the right order. Skip everything.
That was the first one.
Yep. Yes.
Okay.
Let's hear from visibility in a minute.
Yeah, our first organization is the Orange County Disability Awareness Council.
Ready? Do you want me to
Would you-
operate it?
I can't see.
Okay.
I'm Dr. Timothy Miles, the Executive Director and Union as President of the Disability Awareness Council. My PowerPoint is probably more so for me to stay on topic, and stay on track of what you got to do today and listening to these presentations. We are very well known in all cities and even in Orange County about the work that we do. First and foremost, I think the first slide talks about our mission. It's very clear. I'm gonna have to read because I can't see it. We try to remove barriers that impede people's ability to navigate the areas of Hillsborough, Orange County, and then the neighboring cities. Each city gets the same amount of work that we're trying to achieve once it is presented to us. A key is what I'm saying is to be all integrated into society equally, based on those basic areas that all of us are familiar with: walking, seeing, hearing, thinking, or transportation, education, employment, which is key to a lot of what we're trying to ask for help for today. Primarily, the end result would be people feel like they're included in a diverse population as we've grown many ways and for many reasons. Out of that comes dignity and respect. My second slide, I think is right. This for this meeting, this is us now, people with disabilities. All section sizes, some are visible and some are not. These people, including me, I am by birth legally blind and have gotten older and gotten some more things, but I'm still doing what I have to do to be part of this community. And primarily that would be to ensure that people with disabilities have a great chance to have work and play. Key to our mission then, as we ask for your help, is we want to establish a AIDS and technology lab and store. And the store is one of the key pieces that will offer people with disabilities a chance to work on the two pieces. That's customer service and technology training for those who don't. We learned a lot through COVID, that there were lots of people that had devices. Some had $25,000 worth of equipment and could not communicate out during COVID and felt shut out or cut off. And they came back to us to get help in learning how to use their apparatuses and the devices. And key to that would be your help, but also we're reaching out to the various vendors such as Humanware or JAWS, Freedom Scientific, people who have software that we can utilize, teach you how to utilize, along with the stuff that's already incorporated in pieces of device, such as many of you may be talking to your phones now. People with disabilities use that in a heartbeat. I could tell you more stories, but it's another time about how it works for us when you have 5 different devices talking at the same time and the people are talking with it. So it's very interesting. Building independence and self-sufficiency is key to what we do. We want people to leave us when they come to that store and pick out an item that they need to be more independent in their living space, as well as when they go to work, school, and play. So that's key to the reason why we're asking for help. People with disability are a key fabric to this community. My next slide. And I'm going fast. How we put our mission into track, as I said, is through internships, is through teaching those 2 components, customer services and IT, to those with disabilities. And another specialty thing, we've been working with high school and graduate students who are in these special areas I'm talking about, and they're all getting a surge working together in cohorts. One teaches the other, because as we know now, it's a mandate from the American Disabilities Act that all businesses and have some component of accessibility based upon the ADA. Assistive technology is the key to making it happen. And that's where that training lab would come in and that store. Once you pick out something, you can sit and have it customized with one of our students, interns, and they then can show you how to use it in your day-to-day living. Accessibility is a cornerstone. I know Mayor Bell has mentioned once before about how we help with the website and making it accessible now with the new mandates of 508 and digital accessibility. So that's key to impart what we do. Next slide. I think it says why it works. Number one, if you help us, we help you. It generates revenue while training us to be part of the workforce. As I mentioned earlier, some of these disabilities are visible, but yet there are barriers, whether it's attitudinal or physical barriers that may keep people from getting to work, getting to school, getting to other places that are open to the general public that can access it where others can't. We want to remove those barriers and be a vital part of making that happen. Then it's sustainable, because from the revenues, when we sell products and working with the vendors, on at least 2 occasions, and I work with one of them, they offered us a place to store the items, to sell them, but they paid us to sell them. So that was a good working relationship, and I thought we could use that model to build on, to give people with disabilities in Hillsborough an opportunity to have at least one opportunity to work and be paid adequately to supplement some of the income that they don't have for the things that are viable, that are viable to their living existence. And that's how it works. I think my next slide is up, and it should say the impact of what requested was, I think, was $15,000. And these funds, as any other funds we get, are used respectfully, prudently, and where we can save, we do save. But they will cover the operations, they will cover the staff, they will cover the general products and services that we need to run the council. This council has been here since 1999 and began in, I guess, the early 1990s with the assistance and help of each mayor. Horace Johnson was the mayor then, helping us utilize funds and helping us be more visible to the community and bringing us up to the level of acceptance and integration. And I would point out too, in case you haven't seen the historical records, we wrote a grant for the National Organization on Disabilities with Jim Brady, who was assistant to President Reagan, who obviously got shot and became disabled. But we placed Orange County second in the nation. And Mayor Johnson and all the mayors were there to receive that award and that recognition. So these are some of the things we've done, and this is why we're asking you for help. Some people may say $15,000 now is a lot, it probably is, but then some people may say it's small. But in terms of the bigger picture, what it brings us as a group, as part of the bigger group being included, is an opportunity to show what we can do if given the opportunity, since there's been so many opportunities that have not been allowed to us. I think you'll read from our documents that the deliverables are immeasurable and the impact is great. So in summary, we still strive for independence and responsibility and being recognized and being included. TDEC programs, from what I've not said, cover a range of things other than what I've mentioned, such as workshops on the ADA. We do a big one we've done with UNC, where we teach the residents with disabilities in schools how to be prepared in an emergency, because now we know it could be anything. So just knowing about it and being prepared has made an impact on a lot of citizens right in this town and others as well. Just to think about it, because it shouldn't be a secondary thing. Think about safety and being prepared.
Dr. Miles, I just wanted to give you a time check. You're about 4 minutes over
Oh, sorry, what
time. And so if there is anything else that, and we'll give the same amount of time to everybody else, to be fair to everybody else, that's okay. And let me just observe that in your packet, the only thing like required in your application was you didn't have a number how many Hillsborough residents were being served by your program. It says NA not applicable. Do you have any comment on?
So that was,
Yeah.
that part of the application was for groups that received funding last year. So that,
I was gonna try to answer it though.
as a group that did receive funding, it was.
Oh, fine. But but for what we do this time, we're looking at trying to serve at least 75 people total in Hillsborough. The number of residents is well into the thousands here in Hillsborough alone. We did a breakdown analysis and found out that the numbers between the three cities are pretty staggering, giving Orange County more, because of the population size.
Thank you. And would the board like to, how would you like to handle, would you like to say if you have any questions, short general questions before we move on to the next thing, next action?
I don't have to.
I've got- I think I have a question, and it's very similar, I think, maybe to what I asked last year too.
Okay, go
They're
ahead.
a little different. So last year, I think my question was, the cost per program, and that was an excellent explanation about making sure that folks show up. So if they put if you have a fee behind these programs, that they actually show up, if they put a small cost to it. But the part that I couldn't figure out was on the website, and I was looking to see if I wanted to use one of these programs. How would I do that? What classes are available, and how would I sign up for it? So my question is, are you doing that work currently? Because I couldn't really find classes or programs to sign up for.
It's under events.
So, and then, yeah, so I only found one event in there, and I couldn't find it.
Oh, I think I know what you're saying. And when we have something we're gonna do, it's posted in the front of the website.
So I couldn't find any past events, and I only found one event upcoming in Chapel Hill.
Did you look in the archives?
Um,
Because we usually load up every program that we do, past, present, and whatever, even the one from this July. It should be, the video of it should be there. And if
Yeah.
not, I can get it to you. But usually that's part of having to pay someone to fix the website, make it accessible, then put these things up. So, we have archives, all the shows, all the programs we put on. But usually you go, if an event is gonna be there, they'll post it, the calendar, they'll post it in there. And then we send out publications throughout social media and the general mail or the local newspaper saying this is happening.
so the other part that I could find on the website though was, there was a section that called out that these classes are available if you are a member, but then I looked to see how do I become a member, and I couldn't find that.
That's under sponsorship and membership.
So anyway, I just had some, and if you're like working on improving the website, I guess maybe that, but
We are
pretty sure I
doing,
clicked through, like,
No, you're
all of
fine.
it.
No, you're fine. What you're asking is already in play, but since we have a small staff now and don't have enough money to hire somebody to keep it ongoing and robust, we have to kind of do it by hand and
Yeah.
But in other words, we're doing things the old way. When I'm mailing out stuff, or I'm calling people, or I do an email list or an actual physical mail, that's how I get stuff out. Until I can get someone to come in and Ms. Wendy can tell you. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just doing a time check. Do you have any other questions?
No, I had no other questions. I just wanted to
But-
try to get an understanding of the accessibility for people in Hillsborough, classes that are happening in Chapel Hill.
But I'm happy to entertain any questions like that. If you can email me, I can get you some more substantial answers. But most things are there that you're asking for. They may be labeled a different way, and I'll take that up with our folks that are still working with on the website to see if they can be better clear about that.
Thank you, Dr. Roth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a question.
I'm sorry, Rob, you have a question?
Yeah. Dr. Moss, can I ask you a couple questions real quick? So similar to what Megan was referring to, I'm unclear whether you currently have like a lab in store functioning,
Yes, we do.
or is that? Okay.
It's a mini version of the big version.
Okay.
It's in Orange County Human Services Building. We have a separate room for that, and
We got part of the way of establishing all the terminals. And we do have some of the equipment as far as the things that would go into the lab, displays and things like that. But we don't have anything, we don't have the shelving to display it, we came in shops and things like that. We had to wait until we got the place established, right, or finally to open up a store.
Yep.
Then the vendors want to come and put their stuff in and then we work it from there.
And
So we have, but on a small scale, we do have.
And on the bigger scale, where would that be housed?
We're gonna still stay at Orange County. They give us office space there.
You're in Hillsborough.
No, it's in, Chapel Hill. The only,
Okay.
I'm sorry, human service.
Gotcha.
The only caveat to that is Orange County Library.
Yep.
We work with them, as I said last year, to establish accessible technology and stuff that's in there. So we would do classes there.
Excellent, excellent. And then the only other question I had, I think in your application, you said that you also applied to Chapel Hill, Carrboro, and Orange
We
County.
did. Yes, we did.
Can I ask how much you asked from those places too? Is it the same amount or is it?
No, it's much more. Each one of them has primarily about 30,000.
Yes.
About 30,000. And then we're gonna go out to the bigger organizations, like the Cannon Foundation and, I can't say the name, it's Italian. They specifically look at people with disabilities, running an organization and kind of function.
So you're asking from Carrboro, Chapel Hill, and Orange County, $30,000 each?
To make it 100,000, because we did an analysis of what it cost to put the lab on in the store. And that's what it would take to make it happen, give everybody what they need.
All right, thank you.
But please write back on any of it, actually.
Thank you. Okay. Josh, do you have a comment before we?
No, I was just gonna
Okay.
introduce the Fairview, or excuse me, the Exchange Club.
Okay, all right. All right. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm Owen Maddox. I am president of the Hillsborough Exchange Club. First of all, I want to thank you all again for the generous amount of money you gave us, and we put in that walking park, or walking path. A lot of people don't know what we do. We let the Youth Athletic Association have a baseball field there for $1 a year, which they don't pay. We give $4,000 each year to the Future Farmers of America to run their livestock show. We give $4,000 to the Exchange Parenting Group, which is in Graham, but they cover 7 counties, which includes Orange County. We have blood drives there for the Red Cross 4 times a year. This past weekend, the Hillsborough Garden Club had plant sale, which they give a bunch of money to various organizations and grants. The sheriff is going to be cooking chicken tomorrow and the next day for his, whatever the chicken thing is called, but it's to raise funds. On Sunday, we have a group that uses our building for $20 a Sunday. That's just to kind of help out. Well, I figured out it cost over $45 a day for insurance, utilities, everything, just to keep the building open. And there are other organizations that, the Kiwanis Club's gonna have their pancake breakfast there this coming Saturday. And we let them store their equipment in our storage building and have their facility there. And along that line, on May the 7th and May 7th and 8th, we're having our fish fry. So you all are invited to come and spend some money and eat some fish. It's flounder. Our request is for $7,000 and something. We got hit by Chantel, or it washed away all the bark and everything underneath the playground equipment. We have gone ahead and replaced it to open up the park for $3,000. The amount that's in our application is what we had to pay to get that put back in. The water flood also wrecked the 2 doors to the bathroom. And we have a picnic pavilion there with 14 tables that are under shelter that people are allowed to use with no reservation. So whoever wants to come and use it is welcome to use it. But the doors, we shut them this fall with hammers and sledgehammers because they're so warped. And we haven't opened them up yet. The doors and the frames need to be replaced, and we've asked for, I think, $700 or $800 to do that. That was the price at Lowe's for two sets of outdoor metal doors. And once we get the doors up, we'll repaint in there so it'll look a little bit better without the trash and the water line. That's basically all I have. If you all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But we do serve the community in multiple ways.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
And nobody gets paid anything. It's all volunteer.
I don't have a question, I just have a comment, and it's really an appreciation of y'all reducing the amount that you had asked for in previous years, or at least last year. We don't often see that, but I appreciate you doing that, and
We asked for what we thought we needed.
great, thank you.
All right.
Any other questions?
No, I will say though, I did a great job with the walking trail. Been out there a few times and.
Glad you enjoy it. If there are no further questions, may I be excused?
Yes, sir.
Go home. Eat dinner.
Yeah.
Good night.
Okay, next up is Fairview Community Watch. Daryl Moore. Or John.
Yes.
I have the power now. Good evening, everybody, and I want to thank you all for making the time for us to present to you today. My name is John Keneally. I am a Fairview resident, and I am part of the board of directors for Fairview Community Watch. Ms. Fair O'Reilly is in the back there. She is the president. Ms. Fannie Mills is also in attendance, and she is one of the other board members. So, guess I gotta take the power here. So, this is our mission. Our whole goal is to bring the Fairview community together, to make it a safer environment, to make more opportunities for people to work together and to get together and to spend time together. Safety is a challenge from years past. We've come a long way in that area, and we're continuing to work to build that safe and healthy and fair environment. Year in review, what we did is we hold monthly community meetings. We've hosted major events like the Spring Fling, the Fall Fest, and the Holiday Party. And we supported our residential activities and programs. I'd like to mention that the Saturday before Easter, we had an egg hunt, and we actually had 75 children show up. I don't know how many eggs they each got, but it was one of our most successful recent programs, and everybody seemed to really enjoy themselves. So the end result of everything we're doing is to try to build stronger neighborhood and increase community participation. It's sometimes a challenge to do that, but we're finding the community center is serving as a gathering spot and a way to bring people together. So the request summary, we're basically looking to continue with our existing programs and activities. We operate out of the Dorothy N. Johnson Community Center, which is on Rainy Street in Fairview. We hold our monthly meetings. We're gonna continue to do community events, and we're trying to expand a little bit in our residential led programs. We're trying to get more people in the community to begin their own programs to bring more people into the neighborhood, not into the neighborhood, but people in the neighborhood into the community center to support different items. Our estimated reach is around 350 people. That's our goal for this year. Why it matters, we need to accelerate and to maintain consistent community space. We want to create additional opportunities, and we want to advance town goals around inclusiveness and public safety in public spaces. One of the planned activities this year is we're going to open open the center for general use. Today it's primarily open for events and activities. You can rent the space to hold a private event. But this year we're gonna try to open up set number of hours each week, and we're gonna offer up different activities depending on what our target audience is. For example, Friday, 3 to 7 p.m. might be something that we put together for students, teens and young teens as a gathering place to have a gaming night or a movie night or something like that. We also plan to open during the afternoon for our senior population. We could have a senior luncheon. We could have games. We'll offer hot dogs and coffee. One of my visions is to see this sign outside the community center that has this big coffee cup and says, free coffee for residents. That's it. Any questions?
Thank you, John.
I didn't mean to go in the dark.
We're all very familiar with Fairview and attend many of those meetings ourselves and appreciate the work that goes on there. Any questions from the board? Rob?
So John, you mentioned in here some other funding sources, such as Presbyterian Committee and the self-development of people. Have you all ever asked Orange County for any kind of funds? The reason I asked is Fairview is part Hillsborough and part Orange County, and I'm assuming there are some people that don't live in the town limits that utilize the community center and community events and stuff too. And I was just curious if you thought about possibly asking Orange County in the future for.
I am not aware of it.
I actually have history of that.
Oh,
here.
okay.
So when Fairview and the original, the park intern program, they went to Orange County. Orange County Recreation actually took that program over. So there were programs that originated that ended up county, but there additional years when Fairview did go to the county, the last 2 years that I memory serve, and Fanny, you might remember better than I do, but my understanding, the last 2 years we asked for, we did not get money. Is my memory correct?
We did, this may sound a little trivial, but we did ask the Recreations and Parks Department to provide soccer goals.
Yep.
For Fairview Park, which they have done.
Yep.
And our plan is to implement that on the weekend available hours.
Yeah, I saw that, and it kind of made me think about, I'm just saying, possible future funding source.
That's a good
also,
idea.
because again, there are county residents that utilize and benefit from the community center.
Yeah,
and
that's-
Fairview Watch being there.
That's definitely fair.
Any other questions for John? On the board?
All right. Thank you for your time.
I will add though, I guess if you do think about that funding source, that it comes available in December, so put that in the calendar.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, John.
I would just like to say, Fairview Community Watch, thank Mayor Bell. He's always mostly at all our meetings when he's not with you guys. So we thank him, and he's at a lot of events that we've had, so we look at his face quite a lot. Grateful for him, and anything that's going on, he think we need to know, he always addresses it to us, so we're thankful for the town, for which you all have did for us. We thank you always, and we are grateful for that. We're looking to do more things in the future. There you go. Then we be dismissed. John had dinner.
Okay, next up is Food Fitness and Opportunity Research Collaborative, FORC, and Molly DeMarco. Welcome.
Hello, welcome. Thank you, Mayor. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us back. Yes, my name is Molly DeMarco. So one of my team members is here, Brett Shepard, but you'll recognize a number of people who were on our team. We were here back in the fall, so a lot of these are things that you've heard before. I might quickly go through this. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Realize that a lot of this will be repetitive because we also did send you some information midway through our last portion of funding. Thank you so much for that. So I think for some people, they may not sort of understand we're UNC, but like, where are we? Who are we? So yeah, we sit at UNC. We sit in a research center called the Center for Health Promotion and Disease Prevention. It's mostly funded by the Centers for Disease Control. That's that center. And then we sit within that. We're a research and programmatic group. There's about 6 of us now who are based there, and that's our fiscal agent. So we run our funds through there. I just want to give you all an idea of the work that we do and where we do it. We're very focused on North Carolina, rural parts of North Carolina, mostly low resource communities of color. So you'll see that we have a lot going on in Orange County and also in Warren County. That's another one of our key partnerships. I'll say this at the end, but y'all already know that almost all of this was funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture and has for 15 years through their SNAP Ed program. We've been doing all of this work, which I'll share briefly in just a moment. But the new federal administration cut this program entirely. So starting October 1, we will no longer have that. It's a national program, so $550 million gone. We're just a small part of that. So this is our request, similar to what we've requested in the past, but these are all things that we've been doing in the Fairview community. It's under our bucket of Communities on the Move. We fund and run a Youth in Action internship program based in Fairview. We just selected our next round of interns, and it'll be starting in June. We do a lot of work around educating and partnering with the community to help them understand how to reduce barriers to being physically active and provide technical assistance around that. We also have a community garden that we support along with Habitat for Humanity and Fairview Community Watch. And we have a Women on the Move program that I'll share a bunch of photos in a moment. So talking about numbers of people we reach, and we're focused here on these numbers of people who actually reside in Hillsborough. Because we work on policy systems and environmental change, and by that I mean we're changing the environment. We're helping the community get their first stop signs, etc. It touches a lot of people, not necessarily just people that show up to all of our events, but people who now can walk safely in the community because people who drive cars slow down. But we also are reaching about 285 people, specifically, touching them by coming to our workshops, to our events, to our classes, and to garden work days. So, trying to go quickly through this, but there's a lot of context since we've been doing this for quite a while. But we launched Communities on the Move back in 2018, and we worked with 3 different communities in Orange County. We started out with sort of a individual program where people all got Fitbits and they challenged each other to be as physically active as possible. But we realized from that community members have barriers to being physically active, from loose dogs in their neighborhood to not having enough lighting, not having sidewalks, etc. So we moved this project to being more coalition building and trying to figure out how to identify those barriers and help community members figure out how they can reduce those barriers. So you can see there when I say update, there's a number of things that have been done in partnership with the county, in partnership with the town. There are different boards, edible street trees for the first time. There's bike racks, like I mentioned, the 4-way stop. Fairview Youth in Action, y'all, I think, have been to these events, and these are 3 different years. We've been doing this for, I think, 7 years now, working with youth to the culmination of their own research projects that they do throughout the summer. They highlight them during that one day when y'all come out and walk through the community, and see what they've been doing and learn from them. And then throughout the year, they work both with their community members and in the high school to make real what they were working on as ideas during the summer. I mentioned this, but we've been doing traffic calming workshops, so thinking through ways we can, get those people who are driving their cars through the neighborhood to slow down. So things like doing walk audits with the community. Where do they come from? Where do they want to get? And how they can do that in a more safe way. Yeah, and community gardens, the last thing I wanted to highlight. This is our longest running program. You can see we've been doing this for about 12 years. So beautiful community garden that was already there in the community, but we helped support that with technical assistance, with seeds, with labor. We also started a participatory grant making project. Brett here can certainly answer more questions about that, but we've been working on sort of flipping the script so community members get to decide how they spend the money. And then they even get to decide who gets how much money, because we have about 10 different community gardens who work together on how to spend money, and they have just become a network for each other related to the best types of community gardens. All right. Yes, of course. So I mentioned Women on the Move. It's a weekly class that runs through like fall through summer, etc. Mostly focused on women. You can see some classes here. They have Zumba classes. They have weight training classes. We also do stretching and talk to them about safe exercise, etc., and being out in the community. And it's open to everyone. And that is just starting up again. You can see all ages of people come out and exercise. I already mostly mentioned this, but I just wanted to highlight again that we've been working in 10 different communities. So we are working on some other funding requests. We are approaching Orange County. We're also going to be working with Warren County. So folks are interested in other communities we work with, but we're thankful for the support y'all have given us, and we are back needing some more to keep us going. And happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. And like you said, very familiar and very successful programming. Questions from the board?
I don't have a question. Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Sure. Oh, I know.
In the application, it says that there's a match required for the Triangle Transportation Choices Grant. Is there a minimum, grant match that is needed? Is that, I'm just wondering when you requested the 51,000 and the minimum funding to be viable is also 51,000. I was wondering, does that have anything to do with those two?
No, I mean, honestly, so I didn't put the number up here, but of course, this isn't focused on just this community, but we're losing $1.8 million a year. So when the question asks, like, how much would we like and how much is viable? Like, well, we're not gonna obviously put $1.8 million. But that's separate, Megan, from the answer about we could potentially use funds from the town as a match. It's possible, but for that particular funding mechanism, we are not allowed to be a prime, but we can't be the fiscal agent. UNC is not allowed to. So perhaps that will change. Maybe someone knows people at Central Pines Regional Council who could put in a word to let us do that. And if we were able to do that, we would need a match. It's 20%. They require 20%.
Yeah, from the Central Pines standpoint, in terms of the community is working with town staff and Central Pines staff. Dang it, sorry. I hope you heard that.
I heard you.
Because it depends, with Central Pines, because Central Pines is also impacted by the feds, and
Certainly.
transportation, it may be through Central Pines, it may be through TPO. could be through, given that you're statewide, RPO. And if you haven't worked with the rural center, because they have access to funds that Central Pines does not.
Yes, thank you for those suggestions. We've certainly been, yes, doing a lot of investigation.
I mean, certainly, Central Pines serves their member governments, not that, there's certainly a lot of collaboration. But, I don't know enough about the rural center other than some of their I know about their programs. I don't know about the funding mechanisms, but I do know that there are some funds. I
Yes,
just don't know how you get there.
definitely something to look into. Thank you.
Well, I have a quick question, and that is, maybe this is in the packet, or maybe you've said it, but I didn't hear it. What is the difference in the funding from last year to this year? Was that funding last year for the full year? There's a 13% increase over the request from 2026.
This is the 46,000 to the 51.
40, yeah, 46 to 50, almost 52. I was just, making a comment.
I think partially salaries increase. And that was also actually that was some gap funding that y'all provided us. But I think part of it is just there's just some increases with inflation. I don't think there was a lot of difference between the
Operating expenses.
just the operating expenses slightly changed. Apparently 13%.
Sorry, Molly, didn't you go from 6 months to a year? So 6 months funding last year, this is for a year.
So what Brett is saying is this, the gap funding that you gave us was for 6 months, that 46, but this 51 will be over 12-month period, so it's not really 13% increase.
Gotcha.
Yes,
That's good to know.
yes, thank you, Brett.
Other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Okay. And next up is the Hillsborough Arts Council. Heather. Welcome.
Pass around to look at.
Melissa might need your help.
You have.
Also, teams.
Where is this?
You're actually just. Yeah, sure.
Yep, that one. It's great.
I think that's will work. It's just a shame. Sure. I'll let you get. Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
I'm Heather Taylor, Executive Director for the Hillsborough Arts Council. No, you all. Hi. Oh, it's not me.
That's through presentations.
Oh.
Usually.
Sure, I can do that.
So
Just, okay.
I can just.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so I think you're all really familiar with the Hillsborough Arts Council and what we offer, but I just wanted to kind of recap a little bit of that and let you know what our mission and vision is. Our mission is to advocate for local artists and provide access to inclusive community arts programming in Hillsborough, North Carolina. We are very location-based, very hyper-local. Our vision is to integrate art into the lives of community members and cultivate Hillsborough as a cultural hub. So
Always working.
okay, so part of the town of Hillsborough's sustainability plan mentions us, and so I just wanted to kind of remind you of that. The arts and culture are key drivers of economic and social health in town. Hillsborough should continue to support arts and promote itself as an arts destination. The town partners with the Hillsborough Arts Council to provide arts events, programs, and educational opportunities for the community. So these are really core values that we rely on. Yeah. All right, so our town funding support for last year was $15,800, which we really is very crucial to our operation. This year, we are requesting an additional $2,000, and this is because it's a handmade parade year. We haven't had the handmade parade in 3 years. It's usually every 2-year event, but it finally is coming up in April of 2027. We estimate that we have repeat Hillsborough residents served per year, 9,500. We have really large community events that, as you know, last Fridays and the Art Walk happen year round. With the most programming happening on the lawn April through October. And then we have the large Solstice Lantern Walk, and this year we will have the handmade parade. Downtown business owners that are engaged are at least 20. We really do think about our merchants in town and how we contribute to, as we bring people to town, that we are really supporting our local businesses and shopping local. All right. And it kind of fits. So our total funding contribution, I just wanted to show you like kind of how our funding contribution breaks out. Over half of our funding comes internally from fundraising and revenue sources. We do all of our community programming is free and open to the public, and so our revenue opportunities are not as big as they would be if we were charging, but that's kind of the whole point, right? A large part of our funding does come in our grant portion. It comes from Tourism Board and the TDA. So we get portions of our funding from that. And then we also have been relying on the town of Hillsborough to support us as well, but at a smaller contribution. The North Carolina Arts Council and the Orange County Arts Commission also contribute to our funding. And here's a breakdown by source, just to kind of give you an idea of program costs and total contribution from the folks that we are asking for funding from. So if you have any questions about that, let me know or I'll keep going. All right. So these are the programs that we are looking for funding. The Poet Laureate program of the town of Hillsborough. So this is a town public service appointment offering free poetry workshops, open mics, public performances. It's funded by the town and administered by Hillsborough Arts Council. So this is one that we have just relaunched, last year, about a year and a half ago. And so our new poet laureate is Amal Kassir. This is a program that had taken a break, and we restarted it. We opened up the application portal, and we found a wonderful applicant, and she has been doing a great job. She's hosting a lot of free poetry workshops right now. We also did some, looking around Hillsborough and Carrboro and making sure that we are in line with the stipend that's offered in those programs. Last Fridays and the Art Walk, those are year-round Art Walk that we support. And then we also have additional programming on the old courthouse lawn in the center of town. This last week, we just opened back up, and we estimate we had about 1,000 people come out to that event. We noticed even in our gallery and gift shop, we noticed a good about 200% increase in sales on a last Friday evening rather than a regular Friday evening. The Solstice Lantern Walk is a free event that we organize. It's on the Saturday closest to the winter solstice. It has a market and the Farmers Market Pavilion, 25 art vendors, food trucks, live music, procession along River Walk. And we have lantern making workshops leading up to it as well. Oh no, what did I do?
Yeah.
The next one is the handmade parade. So I'll just keep going. You'll see the pretty visuals later.
Back one.
Yeah, back. Keep
Down.
keep going. No.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you very much. Okay. So the handmade parade, we've had a little bit of a gap in that, but it is a uniquely Hillsborough processional art extravaganza. So we have giant puppets and music that walk down the street, Churton Street. It's designed to engage our town citizens through active participation. Anyone can build a puppet and walk in the parade with us. We have puppet making workshops that we've been hosting already in the off years to really keep people excited about it. And honestly, this is probably the first time I came to Hillsborough was for this parade when my kids were young. Oh my gosh, so fast. Okay. There's the clicker. Yeah, I'll just do that. Okay. So the Poet Laureate is the one program that we are asking for full coverage of because this is a town program that we are administrating. The Poet Laureate stipend is $3,000 a year, which is in line with Carrboro and Chapel Hill's Poet Laureate programs. We're asking for program supplies of $500 to go towards a chapbook that Amal is putting together. And so this will be a compilation of local poetry. So it can be people from her workshops or anyone in town who wants to submit to it. And then we will be selling the book through the shop, and the proceeds will go back into the Poet Laureate program. And then personnel support of $3,500. This is staff fees so that we can administer the program. We can host the application when it's time to do that, jury it. We pay local poets to jury that with us. And so that comes to $7,000. And then here's a breakdown of what we're asking for from the town, specifically for last Fridays in the Art Walk. You can see it's just 6% of our total budget for that. And these are infrastructure things. So sanitation, we have ADA accessible porta potties that we have every month on the lawn when we're programming. And lighting during the darkest months. So September and October, we partner with Get Lit event lighting, and they give us a really nice discount. And so we pay them $1,000 and they come out and they string up the lights. And so for those darker months, it's really beautiful out there, and it helps with the safety factor. Performers are really important to our Live on the Lawn series, and that's been attracting folks. Just this past month, we had about 300 people during various times on the lawn. So we have three hours of performance programming out there. And so we're asking for 2,000 to go towards those performers. Some of them are bigger bands like the Shoal Diggers, and some of them are puppetry or poetry, or we just had a fashion show. So all kinds of things out there. And we wanted to upgrade our amp system. So we're asking for $500 with that. It's with one speaker, it's not really carrying very far. So we're wanting to add to that. For solstice, what we're asking for again is for sanitation and for lighting. And so that's important when you have an event of 6,000 people coming. You want to make sure that we have all of those safety measures in place. And so the town of Hillsborough would be contributing 5% of that total cost. The handmade parade, we're asking for $1,000 towards sanitation and supplies, and $1,000 towards performers. So one thing that has happened is we used to have, or you can see the giant puppet here. Those are the types of things that we walk down the street and attracts the big crowd and is really exciting. We unfortunately have lost all of our puppets that we owned in our storage facility due to mold and flooding. So we are needing to contract that out. So we usually hire Paper Hand Puppet Intervention and 1-2-3 Puppetry, but we're going to have to contract them to bring more puppets and more people and paying more performers, drummers and such to really make the parade nice and filled out. And then we have the community members kind of as a part of all of that as well. So we have some increased cost there. Any questions?
Thank you, Heather. Any questions from the board? Like with other applicants, we're very familiar.
Yes, I know.
With your work, and Megan's our representative, of course, to the Tourism Board of TDA.
Yeah.
That funds even more.
I will have a couple questions, but I will catch you afterwards, and it has to do with a couple nonprofits that, and the experience of renting last year, so I wanted to follow up with you. They reached out to me earlier this week.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of there's a time delay, but I'll catch up with you later.
Okay, after the meeting tonight.
Or another depends on how many, so it'll probably be later on.
Later on, another time. Okay. We'll
Yeah, no, not sure. That
okay.
No, that would be cruel and unusual.
I appreciate that. Okay.
Thank you, Heather.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Have a good night.
Kathleen, you can just email me.
Yeah,
At the time. Okay.
Okay, next up, Orange Congregation and Mission. Congregations, plural, and mission.
I do not have a fancy video. That's fine. I was just stuck on the screen share there. So, I am Kay Stagner. I am the Client Services Manager at OCIM. So, for those of you who may not know comprehensively what we do, we have the food pantry and we have emergency financial assistance where we help with rent, utilities, and prescription medication. Our service area is the area that covers the Orange County School District. So Hillsborough and then the rural communities around that. We do not serve Chapel Hill Carrboro. I have been getting more and more calls every day from Durham County, Alamance County, Person, not Chatham, Person and Haswell, and Chapel Hill Carrboro for assistance, but we keep it tight for who we're funded to serve. And one of the big areas that we do serve is people needing assistance with their town of Hillsborough water bill. And that's what we're asking the funds for. And that's sort of, you all know us, you know what we do. Tomorrow is water cutoff day. So I am sure I'll be getting lots of panic calls after about 10 or 11 in the morning. I do every cutoff day. I can always tell when the disconnect notices come out because my phone gets flooded with people needing help, and the requests they're getting deeper. People that we haven't seen for years. I think, I don't have stats on it, but we're seeing more seniors that are not able to afford all of their bills anymore. We had quite a few people when it got really cold who had water leaks. So they had water bills that were well over $1,000. And even when they were adjusted, after they were fixed, they were still enormous. So we do what we can, and we help people either keep their water on or get it back on if it does get disconnected. So we're asking for the 10,000 like we did last year. And for us to provide this assistance with the community grant, we have to be able to prove that people are of a certain income, below a certain income. And so sometimes that's really hard to get that information from people. People are not technologically savvy, so they can't email me the information. They have no transportation, so they can't bring me the like paycheck stubs and things like that. So all of the help that we do give is not used for the grant. So, but we're able, we definitely can get enough to say that, yes, we have done this. But just to give you an idea, in 2025, we assisted with Town of Hillsborough water bills, 377 households for a total of about $55,700. Year to date, this year, we've had 106 households, a little over 17,000. I wrote a check today for about a week and a half worth of pledges that I've made to the ladies who are right down there. It was $2,500 just for 17 pledges that we had made. So we're averaging about 147 and some change per household. Sometimes we may go up to $500 for a household. Sometimes it might be $58. That it just depends on what people need and what eligibility they may have with us. So that's us in a nutshell. You have any questions for me?
Thank you, Kate.
One clarification, it was all Town of Hillsborough sewer and water residents, right? Even if they're not in town, is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to kind of remember, thank you.
And can you remind us again, what is the overall outflow from OCIM total to support water and sewer customers? Above and beyond the 10,000 that the town.
So
Did I hear 55?
last year, it was 55,700 that worth of checks that we wrote for water. And that encompasses, we've got the water assistance program, we have the grant, and then other private donations, and Orange County is very helpful with that as well.
Thank you. Any other questions for Kate?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay,
We might need just a minute.
okay, so have an IT break.
So.
Okay.
So it's other presentations. Presentations. Okay. That was easy. Thank you.
Hello, welcome. I'm tired, y'all. We're moving into we're moving into the mill on Monday, a week from today, so I'm very distracted, I apologize. This feels like 85 years from now, but it's not, so, all right, head in the game. Hi, I'm Katie Murray, I'm the director of the Orange County Arts Commission and the Orange County Arts Alliance, and so we're scrolling, we're spacing.
You can click,
Click.
get the clicker.
Got the clicker, I'm clicking. Oh, this clicker, gotcha.
Or maybe not.
Got it,
Oh, there we go.
there we go, all right. Yay. So, I think most of y'all are familiar with Uproar, but just to give a little overview, this is an accessible, interactive arts festival. It features large-scale public art all over Orange County, all in our 3 downtowns. And the premise is visitors seek out the art throughout the course of about a month, and they score each piece, which decides who wins the People's Choice Prize, which has historically been $10,000. Hopefully it will be again this time. And then we also have a juror of high-profile public artists who also award jury prizes. It really truly is a countywide partnership. All 3 towns are funding and logistics partners. We also rely heavily on organizations like our chamber. The Hillsborough Arts Council is a major partner. The county is the primary funder. They fund $65,000 of the budget. I probably shouldn't say primary funder because the primary funding source is the private money that we raise. But in terms of public entities, the county funds us at $65,000. So one of the questions in this application was, does your program fill a gap? And Uproar was created to fill a lot of gaps. So first, it was created because we want to establish a major anchor arts festival in Orange County. It was inspired primarily by 2 events. One is Art Prize in Grand Rapids, Michigan. The other one is Art Fields in Lake City, South Carolina. Both of those also started very small. Both of those are now huge. But unlike those 2, we fund our artists differently. Yes, they've got a chance to win a big prize, but they get paid just for being accepted. So every artist gets an honorarium. Last year it was $1,000. I'd love to increase it this year if funding allows. But this just helps us offset the travel expenses and things like that.
How many artists was that last year?
60.
It's not chicken feed.
No, that's a lot. Yeah, that's why, I mean, it's a very large budget. And it has to be in order for it to make the kind of impact that we want to make and for it to grow as a arts destination.
These folks are professionals and have to pay
Yes,
professionals.
We
exactly.
hear about those kind of festivals elsewhere. Who's hearing about Uproar in the rest of the country?
Well, to be perfectly honest, we've done it twice. I don't think we're there yet.
Okay.
We're definitely gaining a reputation in the state. You know, my fellow arts council directors around the state are regularly reaching out to say, hey, tell me how you did Uproar. We want to do something similar. It was the first event of its kind in North Carolina.
Right.
That's why we got that National Endowment for the Arts grant in 2023. So it's going to get there, but it takes time.
Sure. I didn't know if it was already, if word was getting out or if it was, and so how and.
I mean, it's definitely getting out in the southeast because that's the area in which our artists come from. So when those artists, who some of them have thousands and thousands of followers on social media, and they're posting that I'm a part of this event in Orange County, North Carolina, their whole follower base is learning about it. So yeah,
cool beans.
So secondly, we have a ton of providers of arts experiences in Orange County. And for the most part, you have to have financial means in order to participate. And
we don't like that. We feel like all people should be able to experience the arts, no matter their socioeconomic standing, no matter their abilities. And so Uproar was designed to be very accessible. It is completely free. You can bring your whole family out on a weekend and travel around the county looking at the art, not spend $1 if you can't. And it is accessible to people with different abilities. All the art is in accessible outdoor locations, so you can access it if you're in a wheelchair or if you have limited mobility. We offer audio descriptions for people with low vision, which of course everybody uses the audio descriptions. That was something I didn't anticipate until we got into it, but everybody loves the audio descriptions.
Is there someone who's like pre-recorded it in the AI, whatever this?
So we, Dan Ellison, he's a big arts advocate in Durham. He did it for the English voiceovers. We used AI for the Spanish. And it was a timing issue. So I like to use humans whenever I can, but it also is a funding issue. It's expensive. So,
I'm sure also finding people with the right voice.
yeah.
I'm sure that may have been part of the allure of.
And it's 60 narratives, which some are, you know, so it's a time commitment. So the third reason we created Uproar is to support the local economy, and that is why it's in the hottest month of the summer. Because that's when our businesses need it. That's when they're struggling, they need foot traffic. So that's why it's in August, and I'm sorry. But people still come out. I mean, it's hot, but people come out. So yeah, it's just support our local businesses. Easy as that. So before I talk about stats, I want to say that tracking Uproar is really, really hard. It's a free event. It takes place in 3 towns. Some people vote, some people don't. They just want to go see the art. They don't care about voting. Some people go to the welcome centers. Some people do just a self-guided choose your own adventure. So what we try to do is track what we can, and then hopefully all that data kind of gives us a full picture. So our data we received for 2025 definitely indicated that the second year of Uproar grew by a lot. I'm not gonna go through all of those, but for instance, you know, our voting, the votes cast, I can't see it now, but it increased by 373% increase. The trolley riders, I realize that's in Chapel Hill and Carrboro, but it's still a good indicator of how much it grew. 121% increase. Our business survey respondents, 70% said that they saw new new customers. 100% felt that it is a good addition to our community. And then we received 30 editorial stories by different media outlets around the region, over 4,000 listens to the audio descriptions. So it's growing. I mean, that's significant growth over the very first one that we did.
And that 100% is not hyperbole, like everyone who filled out the survey said. I feel like it was positive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not lying.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying you are, but that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
Because on a lot of different events, that's not
Yeah, there's always
that's
one.
not always.
Oh, right. And I mean, that one might not have filled out the survey, you know, I don't know, but yes, of all the data we received back, survey respondents, 100% thought it was a good addition. So I'm really proud of that.
Actually, it's really impressive because usually if you're miffed, you will fill it out.
That is so true.
So the fact that
Yes.
there always is one, the fact that it's 100%.
That's so true.
Never did my forced evaluations, lost out of bone pick.
It's true, I know. And just by the way, the photo there with me and Tom, that's Damian Hoffman. And he won the $10,000 People's Choice Prize for the treehouse piece that was in front of the Rookery, which
So good.
oh, and he's like the best guy too. I was so excited. Okay, moving on. So a few new things for 2027. We're brainstorming ideas for visitor engagement. We're talking about how we could possibly announce the awards earlier so that it would kind of boost that last week or two because everybody wants to get out and see all the award winners. We are gonna add a scavenger hunt for kids. It kind of already is a scavenger hunt, but doing like real detailed things to just add an additional activity for children. And then,
You should collect data to see how many adults.
I was about to say, there's
Yeah,
gonna be.
I know, that's true.
Oh, yeah.
Like we did something similar at the Chapel Hill Visitors Center. And if the kids turned the card in, they just got free ice cream. And I mean, they were all over it. So we're gonna kind of steal that idea, but make it Upward specific. And then we're just gonna be collecting more feedback from visitors at the Welcome Center to figure out how we can continue to improve.
I love that idea about announcing the winners over the, feels like it's over and then gotta go scurry before they get out there.
Yeah, there's some logistics to figure out, but I think it's possible. So visitor tracking, we are absolutely going to ask for zip codes when people vote through the app. And then we're also gonna do an opt-in demographic survey, maybe like in exchange for a chance to win a gift certificate or something like that, so that we can collect more demographic data. And then I really want to work more with the Hillsborough Chamber this time around and get a business engagement plan together so that we can both get them jazzed on the front end and then also get them to respond to the survey on the back end.
I know Carl Johnson will love that.
Who's Carl Johnson?
He's the new,
Board chair.
board chair.
Oh, okay, great. So the other big change in 2027 is an increased need for public support. So whenever there's a slow economy and humanitarian needs have risen, the arts funding bottoms out. And it always happens. It's happening now across the country. Uproar is part of this. Also, one thing we're learning is that public perception is that public art is publicly funded. It's just like this assumption that people have. I'm not saying that we are not gonna still private fundraise, we're already working on it. And I think, the flood had a major impact. We started a crowdsourcing campaign called Join the Uproar last year, and it was really going well. And then the flood happened and every dollar diverted to relief efforts, which was wonderful. We raised a lot of money. And I even would ask people like in our inner circle, could you just donate to Uproar instead? Because we really need the money. And I was like, no, I want to support the mill.
I just want to do a time check. We're back
Sorry,
to
sorry.
13 minutes. We have another applicant.
Okay, all right.
Do you have any more slides?
Yes, just like two. Okay, and then I will say the outcome of how these public funding requests go might change the structure of the festival. It might mean some towns have more of the sculptures than others, because that's what's fair. So in summary, we're making two requests of the town this year. One for $10,000 to support our installation contractors. Two of the three are Hillsborough residents, and then 10,000 through the tourism board for marketing and outreach. And I just wanted to leave with this last slide. This was a quote from one of the downtown business owners that filled out the survey. I don't know who, and my favorite photo from the festival last year.
So we've made a lot of comments and asked questions throughout your presentation, so I'd like to ask quickly. So the scope and all that sounds exactly what the tourism board does. You just had a slide that says tourism board has already committed to funding 10 or.
No, not
There was
yet.
a request
Yes,
for 10.
request.
Yeah. So I don't know what the tourism board budget is like, but I'm just curious why you would split half of it one way when that's just exactly what the tourism board was created to do. Why not go all in for the tourism board on that?
Because your town staff member assisted me in this request and advised that I split it half and half. I think thinking that maybe less I don't know. Shannon advised that we split it up this way, and I thought it sounded like a good idea, and so that's what we did.
Is it supposed to ask in the town for 20?
Right,
Or is that-
or at the tourism for 20.
Since I'm not on that board anymore, I don't have to be as diplomatic, but I will say, even when I chaired the board and I was on it, the tourism board and the TDA over the years has built up a fairly robust fund balance that it is often very reticent to spend more heavily. And the prevailing reason before COVID was, well, we'd like to do something else with these funds, and we want to always have the free hand in order to do so. But it was never really identified what would that other thing be. The other is, since COVID, now there is a thought that the bottom will fall out again, and how do we carry through on our, grant commitments and contract partner commitments if our tax revenues get really, really hit. That's also kind of a little mushy, because ironically enough, when inflation goes up and things start costing more, your tax revenues also go up. And so I think it's just a lot of risk aversion, of not wanting to feel as though they can't fully fund a year budget, but that's above and beyond the statutory requirement of how much you have to carry in your fund balance.
And I'll add to that, my longstanding, assumption has been that the high fund balance is carried by Tourism Board Theater to carry out those low economic times. And if you're saying the arts funding is bottoming out,
This is the time.
that's it, right? So I don't know if that plays in and what the request might be to it, but I'm just saying that, as you can see, we have more than twice as much requested of us than we have, and we're deficit spending all this. So I'm just setting the expectation that if there is a more appropriate or perfectly appropriate source that has money, then that might be a good idea. But just, leave it at that.
I'll just add that, I believe there's a placeholder in the TDA also for uproar, which I did not see that as a option also.
Right.
You just had tourism on there.
Right, since the TDA is funded by hotel tax, and since we're not quite there yet. I felt like it was more of a tourism fit than TDA, but.
We were talking about, like, even your artists that are in town.
Yes.
They've gotta stay somewhere.
Yes.
So,
I was like, I can create a very good argument, and just for the stats there's no way they did not put it.
that's a beds, yeah.
Oh, no, they did. It's just, I didn't know if it was significant enough to warrant an ask.
Absolutely go for it, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions for Katie? We're almost at 20 minutes.
No.
No, hate to cut it off.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you, Katie.
thank you.
Okay, next up and last is table. Must be Laura.
I am, yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And Laura, while we're waiting, how do you pronounce your last name?
Dilly,
Dylan. Thank you.
yes. Yeah, we've emailed before, but I don't think we've ever met.
Yes.
before, so nice to meet you. Nice, thank you all for having us tonight, all the nonprofits. Thank you so much. So I scroll. I know everyone's in trouble. I press that. I think you can actually. Well, actually, that is not gonna do exactly right. Scroll out. Great, thank you. Yeah, my name is Laura Dilly. I'm the Director of Operations at Table. We're based in Carver. So Table delivers food to kids throughout Orange County. So we are, oh yeah, you're fine, go ahead. I'm just gonna share. No, you're good. So right now we're feeding 1,200 kids every week. So, Our mission is to deliver healthy food and nutrition education to children throughout the county. So that ultimately kids have improved overall health. You know, we all know when you don't eat well, then your health suffers. And so we want to make sure kids have plenty of healthy food to eat as kids, so then they grow up to be healthy adults and citizens. And so our formula, if you will, or our recipe is food access and farm partnerships plus nutrition education plus family engagement equals improved overall health for kids. So this is just a little bit more about what we do. Before COVID, we were a traditional backpack program, if you're familiar with that model. And since then we've delivered directly to households every week. So regardless of what's going on, if there's snow, if there's families who, you know, are dealing with ice concerns, if there's parents who are working and their kids are at home, but they're not able to go pick up food at a food pantry, things like that, all different reasons. We deliver food directly to kids' doorsteps every week. So we have a variety of healthy non-perishables and fresh produce. Some of our fresh produce is from a wholesaler, but at least, we're thinking it's probably a little bit higher, but at least 35% of all our produce is locally sourced. Several of those farms are in Orange County. And then we have nutrition education efforts as well. And I'm going to kind of skim through this to get to the later slides. Family engagement efforts, all of that to improve kids' health and healthy eating habits. And it does say 1 in 3 kids in Orange County experience food insecurity. I learned in the last week or so that that's actually probably a little bit higher now. It's closer to 40% of kids in the Chapel Hill Carbo School District and Orange County School District combined. It's closer to 40% of kids who do live in food insecure households. So because of the food that we distribute, 91% of kids in our program experience improved access to healthy food specifically. 75% experience improved physical health and 61% experience improved physical, emotional, and mental health. The mental health of kids in our program improves as time goes on, as they have that security and knowing that they will have food every week and don't have to worry about it. So I was ambitious. I have 3 slides of quotes, so I'm just going to skim them all. So the one at the bottom, one mom said, "We didn't know what we were going to make for dinner tonight, and there it was on my door when I got home. They otherwise would not have been able to have dinner." When we ask how food from table has improved their kids' health, if you remember from before, I think it was the 75% who experience improved physical health. We say, okay, well, what does that look like? What do you mean their health is improved? Parents will say, the pediatrician finally gave us a good report. Our kid's on the right weight curve. They're gaining enough weight. They have more energy. Our family's eating healthily and happily. Thanks to table, my son eats lunch every day, which is a huge one. Our kids are ready to focus and learn in school. So we are serving 1,200 kids weekly across the county right now. 50 of them are directly in the Hillsborough municipal limits. And then there's close to 50 more that are still in the 27278 zip code, but are not in the municipal limits. So supporting Table financially would be in line with the town's sustainability plan, ensuring nutritious food is available to all residents. So we really need y'all's support. If groups like you all didn't fund groups like Table, there would be, it says 1175, that's just increased in the last month or so. There would be 1,200 kids who just don't have food to eat in the community. And so because Table exists, at the bottom, one parent told us, "My child has more energy, better focus, improved overall well-being. They get sick less often, recover faster, and seem happier and more confident in daily activities." So by supporting Table, you'll be making sure kids have enough to eat so they can be confident and happy children. So that's it.
Thank you. I have a couple of quick questions that I'll invite others to also ask questions. How do you determine the kids actually live in the town limits? What's your method to determine?
The address that we deliver to, I looked at the Google map municipal limits and cross-checked our addresses in the 27278 zip code to figure out who lived within the municipal limits.
And then, do Chapel Hill, Carver and Orange County fund?
They do, yes.
And what kind of, how do you? What levels they?
Yeah, I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. I think last year combined, the three were 60 to 70,000.
I'm sorry?
60 to 70,000, the three combined last year.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you all so much for all your time. Oh, what was that?
No, you asked my questions, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to everybody's presentations tonight. I'm sure everybody else appreciated it too. Thank you.
Laura. Okay, so Josh, do you want to just kind of remind the board, you know, the high level, what we funded last year, what the requests are this year, those kinds of things, and how you would like to receive, or do you need to receive individual scoring from the board members? So we will, you know, at a future meeting, we'll actually hash out how much we have to spend, or how much, which requests get funded, how much.
Yeah, sure. So, in the original 26 budget before the mid-year funding to Fork, was $45,800. And then you see the amount this year, it's in the packet, but it's substantially higher. But we have a placeholder in the budget right now for 27, 28, and 29 for that same 45,800. So that's where we're at right now. And then it'll be up to you ultimately, of course, so.
Okay. And can you, I know I'm probably the one who discussed this, but I don't remember what it was, but I think we had tried to move away from a dollar amount to a percentage of general fund. So as the fund grows or shrinks, we adjust our funding accordingly. Does that sound familiar?
It does sound familiar,
We
but
talked about it, but I didn't know that we actually did it.
yeah, red number coming out of it.
So here comes Emily. Yes.
I believe that was one of the discussions that we had sort of punted to a future date. I know there were a lot of discussion or a lot of decisions and things we want to talk about as part of the policy revamp, and I think that was one that had been pushed to the future discussion.
That's what I thought. I did. I thought we discussed it, but we didn't actually.
And now the future is here. Okay, so to 45,800 is the placeholder, the request total 139,795, so quite a bit more being requested.
Yeah, the difference is 48,000.
Yeah. Well, that's.
Any other guidance or comments you'd like to provide to the board on that? Doing the math and how, yeah.
I would defer maybe to Eric.
I mean, I'll just say, nonprofits, that is a policy decision for the governing board. And it's actually $94,000 difference between what you budgeted a year ago in June and what's being asked for now.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just looking at the difference, like with their, anyway, what was in the chart.
Right, yeah, maybe with the mid-year amount or whatever, but that, I mean, that is a board call. I think it's inappropriate for staff to make suggestions and pick winners and losers. You are in the community, so anyway, that's, it's, the board does it different in different years. So I would say that from a timing standpoint, maybe when you get to the end of the workshop on the 18th, then discuss what do we want to do with nonprofits, because what happens is, and you've heard me say this, governing bodies spend 90% of their time in the budget process on 0.3% of the budget, which is the nonprofits, because that's an important part of the community. So that if you started at the beginning, we won't talk about any of the other things. So that would be my suggestion, is to, at least we can walk out of the meeting on the 18th you can provide directions from the staff, say, put X number of dollars in, fund these units, or please come back to us with some additional information. Because that could end up holding up, getting everything ready for you to potentially adopt in June. I don't know if that helps.
That is helpful. Can I make, a friendly suggestion to the board? And that is, do you want to have a different methodology for determining how much we're gonna spend? Do you want to tag that to a percentage of the general fund? So that it's not a mystery, how much we're gonna spend? And then come back to determine, how we're gonna best use that money?
I mean,
And do you want to do that ahead of time? Yeah, just tell me your thoughts on how you'd like to proceed, because I feel there's some ambiguity here.
I mean, normally, if things were healthy, I could support a percentage of budget, no questions asked. Given the severity of what we're looking at, under a mantra, take care, just health, safety mandates, take care of what we got, et cetera. I would like to make sure we've got the lights on, the streets done, the water covered before we get to this, to know really what do we have, what can we work with? With everything Eric has shared with me, and with us, on the just the dire straits of budgeting. I really want to focus on the basics first before we get to this.
Yeah, so what I hear you saying is maybe, and I'm gonna use different words, but. Before determining the discretionary community fund, you'd like to maybe know what is our general fund, is non-deficit spending?
Yeah.
Maybe tag it to that as opposed to the overall general fund?
Well, I expect we are gonna be doing deficit spending, but I wanna make sure we're getting what we need to do to run the town before we get to nonprofit. Nonprofit's important. I mean, clearly, we've heard incredibly important. But running the town is our number one responsibility. And so I want to make sure we address that first and cover that to the best of our abilities. And if there's leftover, yes, but I don't want to put ourselves in a worse case of where it is ultimately us to do for nonprofit, no matter how much. I mean, this is gonna be a case of just ugly choices.
I think so, and that reminds me, Eric, maybe after we come to some kind of agreement on how to proceed with, from a process perspective on this question, maybe you can give us a quick high level update on where we're headed, big picture, that'll help refresh us and keep us kind of prepared for some of these tough choices that we might have to make, given the fact that we know that we're deficit spending and that the projections are only going to get worse. So could you maybe in a few minutes give us a tip? Okay, so maybe we hear from Eric on kind of what the big picture is, and then I don't know exactly what the next steps are going to be, but other than, yeah, we're gonna deficit spend, so do we fund anything, or so how much that is going to come out of deficit funding for the community partners?
I mean, I will say this, I remember last year that out of our deficit spending, 5 cents to a few million was nothing. But like I said, I want to make sure we take care of the thing that we are the sole responsibility, and that's why we exist for first.
I think I kind of rambled for a little bit. Do you guys have any other thoughts on how you would like to proceed with that? Or do you want to hear from Eric first and then have this discussion afterwards?
I know, like.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Eric, how about you, give us the
Sure.
bullet points of how we doing.
Sure, and then Emily, Josh, Matt, can jump in if I misrepresent anything. As far as, we'll just focus on the general fund because that's sort of what this conversation is mostly about this evening. So roughly year one deficit, relatively speaking, isn't too bad. It's $400,000. So that's about 2 pennies on the tax rate. But then a week ago, when we were sitting there in the budget, it was like about $1.2 million deficit. So, you know, if you're looking at 220,000 in pennies, so now you're about 6-cent deficit. And then year three, it was about over 2.8 million in year three. So that was 12.4 cents. So one of the big battles we've got is we've got these major capital projects on, and that's if we didn't raise any taxes. You know, we talked about the restaurant menu approach, like when a fire station, gotta add this for train station, gotta do that. So you can chop into that, you know, somewhat with some tax rate increases. Structurally, the big problem is just raises each year and keeping pace with the market and health insurance in the general fund alone is like $680,000. I've got, $630,000 a year. So it's like, but how do you get away from that? So that's what I mentioned in the email is in the year three, that number brings our fund balance down to about 50%. And what we've learned from Chantal and then our neighbors is it used to be like we felt like we could go below that. This is somewhat of an exaggeration, but I almost feel like 50% is the drop deadline. We just can't risk going below that because of flakiness with FEMA and other things and unpredictability. As you all know, many years in the budget, things look way better. So I'm not an economist, I can't predict the future, but as Emily, our budget director, said very accurately the other day, this budget situation has a different feel to it than other challenges that we've gone into in the past, because it's like, oh, well, let's raise rates so we can get to this point, or we get this behind us, and we're gonna get over this hump, and then things are gonna get better. It doesn't look that way. And just for all the reasons we've talked about. So I guess my one thought that I was gonna share with you on May 11th, now here's one less thing for me to say, is that we've got some time, advantage of the multi-year budget. Year one isn't too bad. Our job going through this budget process is twofold. Job one, don't dig a deeper hole going forward, because I'm just gonna make up an arbitrary number because it's easy. It's like, if we add $100,000 a year to the budget in year one for anything, not only do we have plus 100,000, we just made our deficit in year three even bigger. You just chopped $300,000+ off of the fund balance, you know, back then. So it's the, you know, the way these things magnify. The second part, which is important, is once again, multi-year budget. We don't have to solve everything now. It's like, yes, we want to be attuned to this, and the fact that the board wants to have this conversation is excellent. We don't want to overreact and we don't want to underreact, because all these forecasts are wrong. You just don't know which direction they're going to be wrong in. So just like with the transportation planner position, we're going to hit the pause button until we can monitor it. And then as if we start getting over the cycle of the next year, if things start looking much worse, then we can figure out how aggressively do we want to start pursuing cost containment efforts. What level of engagement do we want to have with the employees? We always engage, but we're going to take it to a really high level. Sorry, I don't know if that was too much or not.
I think that's good context, and at least for me, it makes me realize that whatever discretionary funding we do have, it has to be highly aligned with our strategic priorities and our guiding principles of comprehensive sustainability. There's just no room to deviate from that, because we're just gonna make it worse. There's 2 and 3.
Well, and there's the other pieces I keep, well, back in the heads, the looming General Assembly and what they're gonna do. How much will they impact this in year 2, 3, and infinity?
And then the last part, that the board, you were in the community, you were engaging with your constituents on a regular basis more aggressively than I am and staff. So it's like one of the factors that you have to weigh when you go through the processes, as we talk about it, and we just talked about, is that some of the groups, or maybe all of the groups that you heard from tonight, you have to make a value decision and say, this is too important. We have to figure out a way to fund this or fund a portion of this. And that goes into your calculus down the road. And maybe that means in year 2 or year 3, when we'll go as long as we can without raising taxes again. But I don't think it's gonna be too many years down the road that may be part of the, you're committing yourself to doing that down the road. But again, the impact of the multi-year budget is you can have a better understanding of what that impact may be.
Thank you. Megan? Comments, thoughts,
And I think
further suggestions on how to proceed?
not suggestions on how to proceed, but I think I'm in the same boat that you're in, Kathleen, where I want to make sure that we're taking care of our number one job first. Like, again, these are super important to our community, like, they do good work. Or people need it, but and also need the services that we are here for, so. Really wanna make sure that we kind of see what that whole picture looks like before we start. Really trying to figure out this.
Kathleen?
No, I'm just agreeing, and that, and like I said, I'm concerned about how do we position ourselves, given what the General Assembly. They're gonna do something, we just don't know what, and how bad it sucks.
Rob?
I agree with both Kathleen and Megan, but I also feel that our residents benefit from many of the services, programs that these nonprofits provide, that we can't necessarily put a dollar figure on. And I feel it's important that we are able to, support things outside of our town services that we're unable to provide, that other organizations are filling, or providing that service or program. It's, how much is $60,000 for 48.5, 48.8 of our total budget truly gonna, I think we can find that. And so I'm, ready to kind of figure out how we're gonna do that, but I feel like it's something we need to do. Thank you. I don't know how.
Got a few thoughts, and I think the first is really an observation, which is we're struggling with this part in part because this is the uncomfortable part of the budget process that we're not. It's one thing to tell staff no on something. They're paid to hear us say no occasionally. But that there's people in the community who serve the community who are going to hear either yes or some variation of no, whether that's no funding or not as much funding as you asked for. And that's squishy and mushy and doesn't feel good, but it is our budget. And I don't want us to overthink a really minuscule part of our budget, because we are going to probably say yes to things that are deficit spending that is a whole lot more than this program. And I think that rather than getting cute and trying to find a percentage or whatever, that we just need to set a dollar figure, hard dollar figure, so that staff, if for no other reason, can go ahead and see how much they are needing to possibly offset through various scenarios to respond to, because we have to make this decision, but they can work it into various scenario planning that they could do, like what can we delay to another year or whatnot, because I don't want to get too fixated on years 2 and 3. Staff do, understandably, that whatever decision we make has knock-on effects, but they can also do scenario planning themselves on what to move where and whatnot, because as I understand it, Eric, and your very good explanation. Because a good refresher for myself is, these are our projections based on capital improvement plan, all these other things, and, you know, taking into account probably similar tax revenue collections, all the things that go into it, that anything that we're adding voluntarily to discretion, y'all are assuming that whatever we do for this year for the nonprofit partners, we would do at a minimum next year and the following year. So I think we should just set a dollar figure and adjust from that, and figure that out and not spend a lot of time trying to move $1,000 here, $1,000 there, $10,000 there, and just commit to a number.
Thank you. Any other questions, thoughts? Okay, so Matt is made a recommendation that is very specific, which is we don't bother with setting a target figure based on general revenue, either before or after deficit spending. You just choose a dollar amount, and go with it, which is essentially what we have now. And that is 48 something. 45 million.
Can I ask a quick question? So FOF or C?
FFORC.
So we didn't fund them at all last year and previous years, but then they came to us mid-year okay, but they never actually asked us for funding in previous years.
No,
No,
that's
they got-
SNAP.
Yeah, because they got all of the federal funds and
It's gone.
it's gone, yeah. So the bulk of activities that's been happening in Fairview has been underwritten by Fork, with some Habitat, with some grants from Presbyterian Church, with the bulk has been Fork.
Okay, so how do you feel about choosing a number? And I don't know if that number is gonna be a guide, or is that gonna be a hard number that we're gonna stick to, and we're gonna figure out who gets more, who gets less based on ultimately that number. We're gonna have to choose that today. I'm just thinking as a methodology. We don't want to ask staff to come up with a formula of general fund, non-deficit spending. We're not.
You can be just going with this number and starting there. Just say, personally, there's ones where I've got my own idea. If I had a bucket of money, like, this is what they'd get. So I'm assuming some of you have the same thoughts.
Exactly, I've already done my allocation based
Yeah.
on the number of the 40, you know, the 45.8.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that's happening for everybody, so I don't know,
I mean,
we just
well-
paying 45,000 and.
Why don't we just? I mean, I think. Paring down that 52% difference would be really helpful. I don't know. I think 110, a flat 110 would be. As an absolute maximum.
Yeah, I was thinking like one even, but 110, that's nothing.
Just to give us the
Yeah.
wiggle room.
I'd be okay with.
Cause I don't think any of these. We would. I don't know how many of these we could fund the full amount. Or fund it all. So. I think while there's 139,000 requested need. I think that we could do. A good chunk of this. At 110.
Yeah, because I mean, there's some.
Okay, does that sound like a reasonable goal for the board to be thinking about? 100 to 110, then do your own math based on that, and then we'll get an update at the next meeting from Eric, and then by the next meeting at the workshop, we will to make decisions.
Yeah.
Or you will need to make decisions. I don't get to do that.
You never
There's
know.
not-
These days, you're in the hot seat every time we can be.
Exactly.
Josh, does that help? Does that
Yeah, just so I
a little
understand,
confusing maybe?
just so I understand that the next couple of years, 27, 29, you're not going for 45.8, but 100,000 or 110,000. Correct.
Yeah, 110, 110, 110, or increase at 5,000 a year, 110, 115, 120. Plug that in. So if that's your number for 1 year.
I was going to say at least assume 110 and for both future fiscal years, but if you have some sort of methodology to take into account inflation, that sort of thing, but certainly have it.
Man, I thought I heard you say that it's not true to assume that we're gonna do the same from 1 year to the next. Like things.
I
might
think the
change.
idea is that things could could change, but I think for scenario planning, staff would need to, I mean, it wouldn't be fair for them to put 0 for those for year 2 and 3, that there has to be a placeholder figure. A logical assumption is we wouldn't fund less necessarily than 110.
Right, is everybody cool with that?
Good placeholder.
Yeah.
Okay, is that helpful?
Yes, thank you.
That helps us a lot, knowing this is where you wanna be, and then as Commissioner Hughes said, we can.
It at least allows them to encumber a number.
Mhm.
Sorry, budget speak.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you. Right, Chris, how much time do you need on your?
That's up to y'all.
Speaking of projects, I'm thinking about asking who wants to take a break. We've been sitting for 3 hours.
Yeah, I actually need it, I need.
Okay, we're gonna take a 5 minute break.
All of it.
All right.
Okay.
Chris, fiber.
Hi, yes, town board, welcome. I have created a fiber memo. So when I was brought on board, the number 1 item on my to-do list was to get the town of Hillsborough fiber. The way it was presented to me was in so much as we were planning on building out our own fiber. And so as I understand it, town of Hillsborough has been setting aside funds dutifully for the past couple of years to do so. My recommendation is that we stop that. We just, in so much as, fiber construction in our town would be A, incredibly expensive, B, take a long time. C, we've already taken a long time. I've put in the agenda or the memo. If you look at the addendums, we've been doing this since 2017, back when I believe Trump was first president. And so it's been happening for a while. Orange County has also been working on this for a while as well. They decided to go over ground. They have, I believe, just finished lighting up their one and only line, which is in the addendum. And that is down a couple of streets. And it cost them about $500,000 to do so. Our loop, as it was designed and presented to me from NCDIT, was this red loop here. Before I go any further, do I need to do any kind of reference or anything like that in what I mean by a fiber loop? Everyone? Okay, wonderful. So the fiber loop, as it was planned and presented to me, is this red circle as our primary loop, and then we'd have spokes that go out to our subsidiary sites. What's the joke with Brian? Brian, the joke about digging underground? Do you mind?
I have several jokes.
It's about the rock. It's about the rock.
Well, the good news about Hillsborough is we only have 1 rock, but it is Hillsborough sized. And so, that is, Google found that out through their great expense, just to get under, I-85, when they have where we've got that cyan, they quoted me that they spent about 8 weeks out there trying to get under that interstate. You probably saw right in front of Hardy's parking lot, and they were about $400,000 in just to get from the Hardy's entrance under 85 and come up on the McDonald's side, just because of the amount of rock they encountered for an order of magnitude, you know, what we would be considering basically by doing the thing.
So all that to say, I believe one of the phrases I heard earlier this morning was, how can we Hillsborough size this? I don't believe we're a internet service provider. I don't think this is a game we should be getting into. I have a friend over in Chapel Hill, Chris B, and he's over the entire town of Chapel Hill. They do have a fiber loop, and he spent a fair amount of his time repairing fiber lines. And we are just not necessarily staffed to manage or maintain that. However, greatly to our luck, is the other internet service providers who are now in our area. So Brightspeed and Spectrum are both in our area, willing to serve every location that we have. And because of the special way in which they are set up as internet service providers, they can do all kinds of things in regards to cutting across train tracks, going through rivers or over rivers, or whatever the case may be. They have provided us quotes in order to provide every one of our sites with fiber internet. Right now we have Spectrum. It is DSL. It is the same DSL that I believe we were using in 2017. It is asynchronous. When I say asynchronous, that means that the download speeds are great and the upload speeds are atrocious. And so we've been using that same internet for a while. In my proposal, I have 3 items. One, potentially we build out our own fiber loop. It is expensive, and in about 5 years, we might have something up and running in this red loop area. And then we will need to do the same thing for the yellows and cyans. I do not recommend that route. Option 2 is we work with internet service providers who have 24/7 people who go out and repair fiber loops, and it's not me. And they go out and take care of it and light us up, and we will be lit up within 3 to 5 months. If you've gone down Dimmicks Mill Road, you'll notice that they are already pulling fiber down Dimmicks Mill Road across N2. That wasn't me. I didn't do it, I swear. But they are already pulling fiber to us in preparation for our ask, and also because I believe there's already a business that has requested fiber, and they said, heck, why don't we go ahead and do it? This will also help us in terms of if we wanted to expand to, say, different parks. So I believe Gold Park has requested some level of internet connectivity, has not been able to do so. This helps us in that regard. This is not necessarily going to be cheap. Right? They are essentially having us pay for fiber and also some of the installation costs, but it will move us into a place where we would have fiber connectivity at our locations. It will be more expensive than the internet we have now, but frankly, it will be better and will help alleviate a lot of the issues that we might be seeing.
How come we don't, how come Google isn't providing?
So Google is at some of our sites, but not all of our sites. They are also not necessarily the same category of internet service provider. And as such, they have a little bit more trouble getting across train tracks and rivers and so on and so forth. Timelines are different. And frankly, they are focused on residential rather than commercial. They want to work with apartment complexes and things of that nature. And so when I reached out to Google, first off, I reached out to Lumos and what was the other one? T-Mobile's knockoff one.
T-Fiber.
Thank you. They actually did not service our area in the ways that we need them to. Google was willing to work with us, but candidly, they're just not set up at this moment to work with municipalities or large corporations. They really are focusing on residential and residential apartment buildings. So we could sit and wait to see if Google comes to us, but frankly, we'd still be waiting and being in a holding pattern.
I didn't know it because, again, my hometown, Google is.
Google's everywhere around here. I'm not saying they're not here.
Just there,
Yeah.
because residential got 8 gig fiber, business even more so. All of research part of NASA, I mean, it's Google has been.
Do they have multiple providers though, or
Sorry?
do they have multiple providers like?
I mean, you can get T-Mobile, but it's a Google town.
And Chris, is it accurate to characterize Google as a below ground residential provider and the others are option area? And so they have more flexibility to traverse rivers and bridges and.
So each of the internet service providers does a mixture. I would not tell you that each one of them does it exactly this way or that way. Brightspeed also goes above ground at some areas and they go below ground in others. So I don't.
But I would think, I mean, that's one thing about with our weather and trees, that's the advantage of fiber. You want it underground.
So
There's some places though, you just can't.
I would simply say that That is a determination for an organization that is an internet service provider. My main focus at this moment is we do not have 2026 internet. We have 2017 internet, and we've been in a holding pattern as we've attempted to figure out this process. I will provide you with a third option, though I do not like it, and it is in this memo. You could simply do nothing, right? We could table both the fiber and not upgrade our internet service here at town, and also stop potentially doing the fiber build out project and recoup all of these costs. I would not suggest that at the level that we're at because of some of the issues that we're seeing for upload speeds and issues with connectivity between sites and all that other fine IT stuff.
We've gotta do something, but having lived through Spectrum telling me, you know,
I will-
replacing every piece of equipment literally 5 times in an 18-month period and telling me squirrels were getting it when it absolutely wasn't. My confidence in Spectrum is,
So I would say that we are on Spectrum right now, so if we do nothing, we'll continue having the squirrels from Brightspeed take it out. So at this point, what we're looking to do is we are looking to, and we have quotes from Brightspeed, we have quotes from Spectrum. Spectrum is more expensive, Brightspeed is less expensive. I will candidly say as an IT person, the tech support oddly is better at Spectrum than it is at Brightspeed, but there's just, that's neither here nor there. What this is about is we would like to potentially stop the project where we are putting aside funds for us to build out fiber. I'd like that personally, from a professional standpoint, that not be something that we consider as a town. I'd like to Hillsborough size, right size, Hillsborough size, what was the phrase?
Hillsborough scale.
Hillsborough scale, this project. So, that is the recommendation.
Nice question. Well, I tell you, let me
Sure.
poll the board right quick. Do you have strong feelings on A, B, or C?
B.
B. B.
See,
I've lost my numbers, I mean,
A is to build out on ourselves, B is to third party it, and C is to do nothing.
yeah, that B.
So
B, the non Spectrum.
that's,
And do you have, in the packet, do you have rough projections on how much have we set aside? How much would it cost to design and build this virtual private network?
Sure, so-
Fiber?
yeah, so we have quotes from vendors in regards to actually converting from existing DSL to fiber. In terms of building out a private loop or anything along those lines, that's not necessarily the design at this point. At this point, we are in place converting from DSL to fiber and reaping the benefits there.
Okay, so we would just be all of our points of service would be general customers of that leased fiber.
In the way
service.
that they currently are for the
So
DSL.
not a virtual private fiber network running over one or more vendors.
Right. So it is a deviation from some of the preferred reasons we went with a fiber loop in the first place, which was to have a private self-managed loop of internet that we owned. However, we are not in the place where we could lease our own fiber. That is not something that General Assembly allows us to do anymore. And again, due to construction costs and so on and so forth. We could potentially look into a private loop and designing out something along those lines, but candidly, at this point, I'd take just a little bit faster up with this. No.
So one more question, Chris. So you mentioned this option B would get us potential service in Gold Park.
So, yes, right.
Would there also be opportunity to go to Kate's Creek with?
So that is the general idea. So with this expansion to the Denix Mill Road run, they have already put in the fiber for those locations. So we would then be taking advantage of fiber that's already existent. We wouldn't necessarily be encumbering the build out costs for Gold Park. For Kate's Creek Park, there would probably still be a build out related cost, and we'd need to understand that. Generally, the way that these things work is you are put into a 5-year lease agreement and you defer the cost by spreading it out over the course of it. So in some of the numbers that are provided in the budget, you'll see that there are, places that already have fiber and they're very low cost per month. And some of the places that already have fiber or do not have fiber have a much higher cost per month. That would go down after the payoff period, which is 4 months in Brightspeed land and 5 months or 5 years or 4 years, depending on which provider we go with. So
Now, I've got a couple of questions. One, if I remember correctly, the community investment from banking ceiling raised, but the transportation, house and urban development appropriations this year from 15% to 20%. Are there funds available that because of the location of the fiber of this looping, that there might be some opportunity for funding from outside through those dollars?
Sure.
Because again, because there's some leverage there. The other question is,
Do you want me to answer that question?
yes,
first?
yes.
So to answer that question first, this is not us building a fiber loop, and so I don't know how much funding would be available for us to simply switch internet service providers or change our.
Yeah,
our
that's
internet service.
true.
This is not us building out a private loop for, so I would say funding would probably be something that would be difficult to achieve for this particular project. And I'd also selfishly say that we could look for funding and still come to the end of the line and still have very slow internet.
Yeah,
I want to reemphasize how slow the internet is.
I mean, there's just some. This is when we need, this is the kind of project where we need state dollars and we need federal dollars for that. I know that other small towns across the state have gotten those kinds of local bills and appropriations. But also in at least a couple communities that I know of, but I haven't done a lot of polling. We've got private dollars to support.
True.
Um,
What I would say is that we can absolutely go down that path. But what I would also say is that in some ways, this is already in some ways being subsidized by the companies themselves, right? We are paying an extra amount on our monthly bill for them to go out, dig, or put in the wires, or whatever the case may be. We are taking on an extra so many $100 a month. And they are managing, maintaining, upgrading, repairing, fixing, and taking all my inane phone call questions about why this isn't doing what it should be doing or whatever. I'm more than happy to go. I hear what you're saying in regards to.
For staff, I'm really just thinking out loud of.
It'd be really hard to get that funding website to come up with the internet we have right now. So just really re-emphasizing. Question.
Are you done?
I'm done, sorry.
So if we're just essentially going to buy off the shelf fiber point of service, do we need to go with one vendor or have you looked at splitting the load across?
That's a really great question. So I'm a very lazy IT person and I really like going to one place for a bill and that sort of thing. You know exactly what you're getting. You're not having an issue where, oh, is this a problem with your internet or my internet and our sites aren't talking? Is it an issue where we're transporting between these different internet service providers? All those conversations and questions come into play. But coming back to me being very lazy, the preference is that we have one internet service provider for billing purposes, for support purposes, and for other just intangible, not having to get two vendors talking together in order to troubleshoot why we're having an issue.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, of
My
course.
second question is, how do you compare our current cost for all the DSL lines, internet service total, versus if we were to switch to one of these 2 or 3 vendors from whom you have received?
Sure. So in the packet, in the agreement there, so we would be going from a $26,000 annually to closer to a $50,000 to $60,000 annually. So if we got from their 100 megabit download and 10 to 30 upload, and move to true 1 gigabit up down synchronous at all of our locations. That is the delta between those two. So
about twice as much.
I would actually say it's a little bit more than that, but yes, it is more. This is not necessarily a cost saving maneuver. This is a quality of life for our employees and also an ability for us to say that this is not a capital project that we're doing anymore. Again, if cost is a concern, there's also the do nothing, which we could do. This is in some ways 2 requests. One is to not set aside the funds and 2 is to.
Yeah, I understand that. Last question is, how many sites total in you know, what's the average monthly bill? Are they all the same each point or are they different?
No, they're not all the same. So for instance, on the Brightspeed side of things, an average gigabit up down for a site that already has fiber is $119 a month. For a site that does not have fiber yet, it is anywhere from 800 to 1,000 a month because of that build out cost. It is quite a bit because again, they are charging us to build out. Whereas a Spectrum averages out the cost between all sites. And so they might have a $500, $600, $700 bill for every one of our sites because they're spreading it out over the course of our account. And so the idea would be that, yes, we are building out fiber for however many months. But after that time, we would then renegotiate because we've paid off the bill, as it were, and those costs would go down. In theory, everything's in theory in practice. Wait, no, everything's, yeah, anyway. So I think the benefit of having some of our sites be on 119 a month and some of ours not is at the end of that term, you would point to one site that has the exact same speed as the other site and say, we have done our due diligence, we've paid to build this out.
So just your request, Matt, I see your hand. So your request tonight is going to be, do we proceed with 1, 2, or 3, or are you asking us to? Are you making a recommendation of those vendors at this time, or is that for another meeting?
So the recommendation at this point is twofold. Like I said, one is to stop putting aside money for us to build out the fiber loop, right? We want to potentially end that project and recoup those costs. The second sub request is we'd like to move forward with upgrading the internet at our locations. And if that is a separate conversation, I would defer to our friends at budget or whatever this may be. But that would be the request, is that we start upgrading our facilities to match the use cases that we need.
Thank you. Would we release the money set aside back to the general fund, or would we use this to pay the internet charges for the next couple of years?
Sort of, yes and yes. So the idea would be to take the annual, we currently are setting aside $50,000 each year for the fiber loop project. And it would be to reallocate those funds to the fiber internet service that Chris talked about. And then our plan for the current budget is to reallocate the funds that have already been set aside to some other IT projects.
Okay, thank you. I'm done with my questions. I just want to say I've done this for 25 years. And you're giving me PTSD thinking about changing internet service providers and what they say they're going to do versus what they actually do. So
Yes, I
That's what I worry about.
You had an audible sigh at the point, so I could tell. Has Spectrum given you a quote?
Yes, it is more by a lot.
How much more?
Thousands more a month.
Give me an annual number.
Oh, you're really gonna do this to me now?
I am.
Okay. We're gonna go here.
While Chris is doing that, one thing I did find out to Chris when we were talking through all this, were kind of two things that I mentioned, because, you know, as you all know, I handled the fiber install when we did the, I was the person who was overseeing Brightspeed and Google and everybody else. Couple things that were not in the budget that would need to be added if we did build the fiber loop. First off, you're gonna have to pay insurance and licensing fees to go under North Carolina Railroad, and also carry the bonds necessary for the DOT. That was not currently in the budget, so, you know, add that to whatever the fiber loop bill was going to be. And then also supplemental locates, because either our utility staff would have to now locate fiber when 811 tickets come in. Typically, they get 30 to 50 tickets a day. Somebody has to go in every day and clear those tickets. And then also, unless Chris is gonna go out and personally repair the fiber, having some sort of emergency fiber repair contractor. So the gap, yes, there's a gap between the two, but it's one of the things that, you know, I suggest to Chris that, you know, just considering, hey, that gap is there, but we've also got a funding shortfall and some of these other things, that gap's gonna close when you start to consider all that stuff, so.
So to answer your question, the quote that we currently have in hand from Brightspeed is a monthly bill for all our sites to be lit up, which includes at this point, because we are paying for the internet for the fire department and community center, would be $5,594 a month. Currently, the Spectrum bill for similar services is $8,825 a month. So there is a sizable delta there, especially over the course of a 60-month lease period. So
8,000 what?
8,825.
It was 500 something.
It was 55.94.
55.94, yes. all quotes are subject to change.
Of course.
I just wanna be upfront and clear, you're doing calculations here and you're multiplying by 12 and you're multiplying by 60, we've got that here, I'm happy to share it with you. But as with all things, we'd love to come back and say, man, we really talked to our board, and they're like, if only we could go down just a few, they're not listening, are they? Hold on, is this recording? But anyway, so all that to say, this is a negotiation,
So
so.
what I'll say is this,
Sure.
is I think option B is the smartest option. You take Brightspeed at 66,000 a year. We've accrued 500,000. We could pay almost the next decade of internet service using that. So I think that's nothing to sneeze at. I don't think there's bad budget implications if we turned off the money spigot. Maybe continue to hold some of those funds so that we don't add to deficits and that sort of thing, and internet going up from 26,000 to anywhere from 66 to 105,000 is quite a lot. But we have the money that we've accrued to help cover, plug those holes. So I think that makes a lot of sense. My next question is this something that is put out to RFP? How does that part work?
I don't think it's the kind of contract that requires competitive bidding.
Okay.
You might do an RFQ or something, some competitive process, but I don't think it's mandatory.
I'm just asking so that we can remove some of the mysticism behind it. We can really understand what they're providing and that sort of thing. And, you know, I think the reason why option B makes the most sense is I think it's the most fiscally prudent. I think we have, in some cases, raised the tax rate to help cover the 500,000. We said this is what we're going to do, is do a fiber loop of some sort. And to just stop flooding it and do nothing, I don't think it's very fiscally prudent. To go the other direction and build one, I don't think it's fiscally prudent. Or if we care about the mental health of our employees,
At least one.
especially new ones, not very prudent either. And then I also think as we're talking about things with energy monitoring, with having our buildings key card enabled more and locking down security and the things that you mentioned, we need our internet to be better. I upgraded the Burwell School on their actual internet. I don't know how DSL still exists, but they had what was supposed to be really good broadband, but equipment that was almost a decade and a half old with really bad download speeds. Couldn't even do a Zoom call very effectively, and somehow ended up with a lower bill and better internet and new equipment. So not saying that's gonna happen here, but it was a quality of life issue.
To be clear, at the locations that currently have fiber, the Brightspeed quote is less at all those locations than what we are currently paying for DSL for Spectrum. So to your point, once we've got the build out at these locations, and they are the classic heel, bottom of the town, side of the town, we're talking wastewater treatment plant, we're talking the Dimmick's Mill Run and all those other things, like there's just build out that has to be done. It just shouldn't be us. Mayor, you had a thought, question. Thank you for saying.
Looking at the time. You need an official statement, a motion from the board, action.
That's going to take the option to, or option B.
Action required, cancel. So the action request is to cancel the fiber loop project instead purchase fiber from a telecom vendor with services to all intents. Is that the motion?
Yeah. Second.
Matt, thank you, Matt. Kathleen,
No more question.
any more questions?
So if we pay for that build out to get to our other buildings, is there residents that will also benefit from that build out?
So we had a resident call in and ask why they couldn't get fiber from Brightspeed at our location, and then lo and behold, fiber started building out towards that location. I do not think it is on just a whim that they've decided to go ahead and build out to that particular location. So our residents benefit on locations that may not have been served even before we put I have one request, and this is gonna be a little strange, but if there's anyone who has done the math on the bills that we're looking to pay and wants to send an email to the IT manager saying something like, if you could get it down to whatever, that would be helpful for negotiations.
Oh,
Anyway,
I mean, I'd be glad to be. a
wonderful,
cheapskate.
excellent. But thank you so much.
Glad to do this one.
Thank you so
Mayor,
much for
that would be more power if it came from the members likely, but.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you.
Kind of
So Mayor, do you wanna do that?
Sure,
Okay.
yeah.
Want feedback from us, or will you just use your professional?
I will use my professional jargon or experience operating a statewide fiber network.
Most excellent.
I'll jump ahead. I have no committee updates.
Yeah, thank you.
No committee updates.
Very quick, city vision next week. And on Central Pines, we just did budget. We have reorganized the areas that reflect better the interconnections of the service areas. I'll just leave it at that.
Megan,
TDA met, we talked about the 27 budget, about it.
I have a few things. I'm gonna make it quick. SWAG did not meet. The Triangle West did meet on the 21st. Nothing unusual to report there. We did also have our Orange County quarterly meeting with NCDOT. Following, again, nothing there. Stephanie did a great job of describing kind of what our projects are, and I especially appreciated her describing to NCDOT how the no mow in May is a flawed concept, because that idea was generated in Vermont. It's March, and our zone is in March that it should.
Yeah.
So what the legislature passed for NCDOT is just 100%.
Unless you like rats.
I know I read something about that too.
Okay, and so the last thing's gonna take just a minute. So I wanna talk about data centers for a second. And there are a lot of questions that are coming up about data centers. We have all been receiving information from the league, Central Pines, the NC Mayor's Association, raising questions about water use or electrical consumption, air, water, noise pollution, questions about employment opportunities in data centers and revenue impacts. And also things like some towns are required to sign a non-disclosure agreement with the developers because they don't want to divulge who the actual end user is. So these things are like, this is the hottest topic for municipalities and counties around. And I would like to know if the board would like to entertain at a future meeting, a discussion about data centers and ask staff questions about what we know about data centers and what we should be concerned about and kind of what the landscape is.
If we do, I would highly, highly, highly recommend bringing in Mike Turner, because he is an engineer, Loudoun County, which is the highest number of data centers in the country.
Thank you. So what I'm envisioning is to having an internal discussion first. How should we proceed? Should we proceed? How do we plan this?
Because he has the
And
data,
then later, we could have,
but wouldn't
an
we want the
informed-
data first about it before what we?
I think for simplicity's sake, and I have an idea. And that is, we need to have a general conversation that is, us talking to staff about, what is this? And then, whatever comes out of that meeting, whether it's a public hearing about data centers and moratorium, Orange County did one recently, they're popping up everywhere all the time. We need to discuss kind of more informally amongst how to proceed. Then it might take time to invite subject matter experts to hearing those kinds of things. So first, I would like for the board to hear from staff. Sorry to put you on the spot, Matt. And Eric, and Bob.
Not where we've been talking about.
What that landscape might look like.
I like.
So a future agenda, maybe in May, if possible. I mean, I know that we're doing other things as well, but I'm envisioning an hour of conversations and stuff.
I like the internal conversation. component, because I think that there's things that we need to know, like, Bob, what does a moratorium mean? And I'm sure it's not carte blanche, you ban something without officially banning it, you have to address the issue at some point. Well, with some regulations, so I think that we need to figure out, like, what do we know, what do we don't know, what do we need to know? And then, then that will give staff the ability to, come together with some moratorium language, we can address it. And the update to unified development ordinance, hopefully it's not one of those things we have to immediately possibly address, but
Timing's good.
yeah, so I think we have to have that internal discussion first.
I would. So think about some kind of like level setting them. We're all at different places on this, on like the information that we learned from Mike Turner. Just so we have like a conversation of, are we just getting everybody right up to speed to the same point, or is it something that we can get beforehand and kind of level set everybody? So that we have a good conversation about instead of just all over the place.
I imagine that staff would be able to put together a high level summary and from a legal perspective and others. I mean, we've already received a lot of information from the league, Central Pines, the Mayor's Association, and others that all very, very similar in scope. So maybe it'd be not too difficult to put together a meaningful packet for us to level into, get us all up to speed. So we're all kind of maybe we have the same top 10 discussion topics in mind.
And I
Is
suspect.
that?
Yeah, cause it was, as you mentioned, a couple different organizations, I know that Kathleen and I were, I can't remember if you were there, but we've all been to different, we've heard from different folks. Like, what, is it the same across the board, or is there some nuance differences?
No, and I know that, who we've heard for it at NARC, we've had in the last I've been to 3 conferences, data centers have been at every one of them. Yeah, it's very interesting because we're hearing from data center and the data center speak is very interesting and it's, in City Vision, I would anticipate there's gonna be something, I'll certainly bring back what there is, and I know in the upcoming, NARC conference date, there will be there's gonna, presentation, which I'll bring back. And that's it'll be a combination of local government and probably some industry. I don't know yet. I haven't seen I've seen the topic, but not the presenters.
Yeah, and like my hometown is going through this right now, and it just is so many different groups, so many different information, it's like which one's actually true. And I feel for their board, try to decide and decipher through all this, but with the pressures from community members and from everybody else, so.
Eric, is that ring true to you about kind of maybe how to proceed?
Yep, sounds good. FYI, Chatham County was sued on Friday afternoon.
I saw that.
Over their moratorium on data centers. That was just filed, actually it was Thursday afternoon, so.
Yeah, that was, just saw that if the developer spent so much money behind the scenes. What happens when you don't talk to people?
Okay, any other, I think I'm the last one going around the table. Any
Yeah.
other?
I like that idea. Putting it proposed, so.
Great for it. Great, thank you. Anything else for the board? Or is there?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you. Have a good night.